Sasuke left the village, his head held high and his left arm gone. Tsunade was willing to make him a substitute, but he refused. The reason, be it pride or repentance, was kept only between the two of them. The point is, he just left the village, saying goodbye to the other members of Team 7. Which was why he was so surprised to meet Naruto in front of him. "Excuse me," Naruto asked, in a weird voice. It startled Sasuke when he figured it out. The voice sounded the same, but the difference was that this Naruto was calm, polite, and did not recognize him, and definitely got startled when Sasuke drew his sword in his direction, Sharingan spinning in his eye. "Whoa, I'm sorry, did I do something wrong? Did you? Why do you look and sound like Naruto?" Sasuke asked through gritted teeth. "Look and..." "Oh, that's perfect, so you know him personally," the stranger said with a smile. A wide smile just like Naruto's, but the man did not act like Naruto, so that smile became wrong. "Well, how do I explain? Do you believe in reincarnation?" Sasuke nodded despite himself. Hard not to when he was a transmigrant. Well, they may be different things, but he never bothered to find out the difference. "Well, long story short, my adopted father used a skill to make me look and sound like him, to work as a diplomat in his name. He died some time ago, but recently when I was traveling nearby my appearance and voice changed. I've been trying to find who I believe to be his reincarnation since then." Sasuke snorted. "Your story is hard to believe, but my Sharingan didn't detect any sign of you lying. So either you believe it or you are better at lying than me at detecting. And I played poker with Naruto. He lives in the village right there," he said, pointing behind himself over his shoulder. "I suggest disguising your face and voice and asking for Uzumaki Naruto, though. Most people would think it is just one of his pranks." The stranger nodded and hinged himself into a brown-haired man. "Thank you, young one." Sasuke was going to say something, but then remembered this person was probably older than Naruto, for his adopted father to be the idiot's previous incarnation, so he just nodded and went on his way. He sighed. Since when did a random person looking for someone because they were a person's reincarnation make total sense to him? And, well, if the person lied and somehow fooled his Sharingan, it's Naruto. He won't lose that easily. Besides, it's not like his henge would fool anyone. Naruto and Sakura, followed by Kakashi, who seemed to have been somehow convinced not to be late, arrived at the Hokage's office just in time to see Tsunade downing a whole bottle of sake, Shizen downing a second one more slowly, and a shadow clone of Naruto? "Proceed," said Tsunade, to the confusion of the visitors. "That's it really. Oh, and I'd like to take him to see our home, even if he decides not to stay," said the shadow clone, in a completely non-Naruto way. "That's on him, I guess," Tsunade said, nursing her head as if staving off a headache. An action all viewing seemed to be familiar with save the shadow clone. "Bachan, what is going on?" Naruto asked, ready to evade a high-speed office implementation that never came? "And speak of the devil or whatever he is," Sunda said, shaking her head. "Hey brat, come here. We found this guy sulking around town looking for you under a very unconvincing henge." Naruto entered cautiously, looking at the shadow clone, that now he could see only had his appearance. He did not act or feel like one of his clones. "Hello, Uzumaki Naruto," the clone said. "My name is Enoch, but most know me as Metatron." Naruto looked at the clone, then turned to Tsunade. "Bachan, I swear I didn't know shadow clones could get lives of their own if left by themselves. I'll take care to pay attention and dispel every one of them from now on." "I'm not a clone, Naruto-sama," Enoch said. "Really?" Naruto asked, confused. "So you just happen to look like me, sound like me, and even have the same birthmarks?" "Actually, there's a reason for all of that. And actually just my head and skin tone is the same as yours. I think I'm a few centimeters shorter and I bet we have different scars." Saying that, Enoch shows his arms, showing they are both scarred, while Naruto's natural one is blemish-free. "Okay. Then what is the reason?" "Oh, a previous incarnation of yours used a technique on me so I would look and sound like him, or right now you to be his public face and voice." Well, Sakura interrupted, "You did meet previous incarnations of Indra and Azura. You fought Madara besides Harashima-sama, remember?" she pointed out. "That's a transmigrant, Sakura-chan," Kakashi corrected. "That's more of a possession of people with similar souls. More like giving someone else your kidney or eye, not growing a new one." "Okay, let's pretend this makes sense," Naruto started, just to be interrupted by Tsunade. Which, considering that you fought an unzombified Madara and a goddess before being brought back to our dimension by the souls of previous Kages and the Sage of Six Paths, who you met before when he helped bring you back to life stronger than ever. When you put it like that, Naruto agreed. No, that is not the hard-to-believe part. Now we are getting to the hard-to-believe part. Enoch nodded. In our land, your earlier incarnation was known as a god. A god, Naruto repeated. As in Kaguya, god. Stronger. Well, we defeated Kaguya, so it isn't that hard to believe. Naruto nodded to himself. Being a god is clearly overrated. Excuse me? Sakura asked, incredulous. Were we at the same battle, because I clearly remember us almost dying for her many times. Tobi or Obito or whatever he wanted to be called did die. I know, Naruto raised his hands, trying to placate her. It's just that, we did win despite her being a goddess. And now this guy's god is dead enough to reincarnate. He kinda has a point, Enoch interrupted. Of course you'd take his side, Sakura grumbled. All I mean is that, while my god in life was in the top 4 strongest beings, he wasn't the top one. The others top aren't even gods. The top 10 list that does not count the top 4, now 3 also feel like they aren't made of as many gods as people seem to think. But again, they'd think all of them would be. Gods are strong. But they aren't the be-all end-all of creation as most seem to think. Wait, what? Naruto asked, confused. A top 10 ignoring the top 4? How does that even work? Enoch shrugged. Supposedly the top 4 are so stronger than the next one they decided not to count them. Naruto blinked. Then blinked again. And what was Kaguya? Enoch took a deep breath. Kaguya was strong. But she is not even in the top 10. And my past incarnation was part of these top 4. Yes, I call bullshit. We wouldn't have had near as close a problem with Kaguya if it was so. Well, your past self was old and trained and experienced. I'm actually surprised you are already strong enough that my face changed. How old? Thousands of years old. Trust me, the power you have now. Barely scratching your potential. Okay, let's assume I am the reincarnation of your god and you can somehow prove it. What now? Well, Enoch started, rubbing the back of his head in a very Naruto way before noticing it and stopping with a neutral face. I was hoping you'd come visit our, land, and maybe if you agreed assume again the mantle of, well, our equivalent of your Kages. What? No. I swore that I would become Hokage and I never go back on my word. How? I was hoping for shadow clones. Enoch flinched a bit at Naruto's denial. I'm not saying to go back on your word. I'd never dream or have nightmares about it. I'm not saying you have to take it right now, not even sure if you can. You need a few decades to be ready, more than long enough to train the next Hokage. But just visit and meet the others, they've been without you in their lives for so long. I mean, for us you are the reincarnation of our father. Even if not all were created directly by your past life. Naruto sighed, deeply. I won't have to give up on being Hokage? If I am right, and I have no doubts, you can tire yourself of being Hokage. And it is a tiring job, Tsunade agreed from the sidelines. As far as I'm concerned, if you wish you can be both at once when you recover enough. I just want the others to know you are born and well for now. Naruto sighed, and looked at Tsunade. The young-looking old lady shrugged. How much will we be away? He asked. 1 week at least, but we can stay as long as you like. Enoch answered with a big smile. I'll classify this as an escort mission of a foreign diplomat, I think, said Tsunade, drinking another gulp. Are you guys serious? Sakura asked, stupefied. Kurama feels no malice from him, Naruto shrugged. His intentions aren't bad. Sakura looked at Kakashi's eyes, and both sighed. I had to be Naruto, so I guess you can fly while in this six-path sage mode? Enoch asked, trying to figure out which of the rumors are true already. Yeah. Only did it once though. Never crossed my mind to use it much. Can I still do it? He pondered. No reason for you to have lost the skill. I mean, it is something of yours, not just the arm healing seal you lost. Enoch nodded. Well, do you mind if we fly then? We will have to cross an ocean, and I don't think you'll be comfortable on my back. And we can train it a bit on the way. Wait, how do you know about that? I asked around, Enoch shrugged. The young man was telling me about how it was a shame you lost the youthful arm seal that saved his sensei's life. Naruto couldn't help but let out a laugh before trying to enter Six Paths Sage mode. Classically. He closed his eyes and concentrated, and when he opened them they were golden. Golden energy was also covering his body, and his whiskers were now dark black lines. Black lines and symbols also covered his energy clothes. Enoch nodded, before releasing his wings. 12 wings of pure white feathers apparently made of light itself extended from between his shoulder blades. By the way, what is your religion? Enoch asked while they rose, not bothering to flap his wings. I know it isn't from the one your predecessor ruled over, since you didn't recognize my name. It seems like a mix of Shinto and Buddhism. It is called Ninshu, Naruto said. I'm not the most religious of people, though. Understandable. They flew for a couple hours, passing through a passage in the dimensional void. But as Naruto wasn't used to flying yet, they eventually had to stop to rest. In Japan, in Kuo. To Naruto this meant nothing. To Enoch this meant danger. And if he did not know, he'd ask what his father was sending him there for. Then Naruto tensed and started running towards a park nearby. Surprised, Enoch followed him. The scene he saw was bizarre. A devil, apparently a newly converted one, was trying to save a nun from a fallen angel. Luckily, he was able to catch Naruto and cover his mouth before he did something stupid. We can't let them see us, Enoch whispered with urgency in his ear. She is kidnapping that girl, Naruto whispered back. I can sense malice from the one with black wings, and the blonde one is scared and sad. I got to help her. And then, something Enoch never thought would happen. The reincarnation of his father hit him to make him let go. He was so surprised, he lost sight of him. If he had asked anyone in Konoha, he would know that was a terrible idea. Rainier didn't care for anything anymore. She had fallen. She didn't even remember why. That meant that the thing that gave her the most happiness in life was taken, and no other fallen had ever gone back. She doubted she'd be the first either. So, like all other fallen, she indulged in vices, an attempt to fill the emptiness. And right now, she was preparing a ritual to kill a pure soul and steal her sacred gear to become stronger, to try and get Azazel's love, in an attempt to fill his love that she lost. She looked to the other three, the three she had no idea why they were helping her. Donasek liked to fight, so he was probably there hoping for trouble. But Calawarner and Middlet, she did not care for the stray exorcists. They hired more help, especially freed Selzen. Being lost in thought would be her excuse for her surprise. But if she was honest with herself, somehow the blonde boy wearing orange was unnoticeable until he dropped behind Selzen and knocked him to the wall repeatedly until he passed out. His features were Japanese, but as mentioned his hair was a clearly natural blonde and his eyes were blue like a clear sky. Before anyone else could make sense of what was going on, though, the boy exploded and became an army. The next time Rainier could make sense of things, she was pinned to the ground by one of the blondes, as well as everyone else but the girl chained into the cross-shaped machine. Then she saw out of the corner of her eye a sphere of pure energy cut the chains as if they were nothing. Who are you? The nun asked, confused at what just happened. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. The boy finally said something. I noticed you were in trouble, so I came to save you. Why? She asked in confusion. Rainier agreed with her. Did he just come and help someone because he felt like it? The boy, Naruto, thought about it for a second. Why not? Tears of frustration entered Rainier's eyes, as she just couldn't budge the copy of Naruto holding her down. What, so you really want us to believe you just helped out of the good in your heart? Pretty much, the boy shrugged. I once made a promise never to carry any regrets on why I do something. I'll go against my superiors if it is what I think is right, and I definitely won't turn my back on someone who I believe I can help. Pretty words. How do they measure to reality? Naruto shrugged. I'm not perfect, but I do my best and that's all I can ask myself for. Was this guy even real? He was answering it all so matter-of-factly, as if it was obvious. He felt human, but his attitude was like those goody-two-shoes that still had her father's love. Then, to the surprise of everyone, especially the blonde, Donasek created a light spear and hit the copy holding him with it, and it burst in smoke. Her fellow fallen took advantage of it and went straight for the one who was talking. Okay, never mind the goody-two-shoes comment. The blonde gave him a punch to the gut strong enough to make him vomit and then made him hit his head on the ground to pass out right on top of it. Rainier's mouth opened, but there was no sound coming out. After all, what could surprise her more? Her answer was Metatron entering their stronghold in full regalia, a silver mask covering his face and his robes flowing around his body. Uzumaki Naruto. His voice echoed, and Rainier whimpered. Okay, Metatron, the Metatron was there and seemed furious at the guy she just called a goody-two-shoes right before he defeated Donasek with 2 merciless strikes. You punched me in the gut. You were in my way, the human replied, matter-of-factly. Could he not feel the power filling the air at every word the voice of God spoke? Wait, he punched Metatron in the gut? It was a battle between a devil and a fallen angel. Yeah, well, there was a girl between them that needed help, the blonde said, pointing to Asia. Wait, oh crap, Metatron was right there when she took the nun from Issei. Both the devil faction and the fallen angel faction are our enemies. If they find out how important you are, you will be in grave danger. Well, you didn't tell me that. Rainier then saw something she never expected. Metatron, huffing in annoyance. Would it have changed anything? Of course. I would have been more stealthy and taken them away from the shadows instead of jumping in the middle of them and being recognized. I'm a ninja, you know. You wear orange, Middle said. And yet I was able to surprise all of you. He shot back, and the younger fallen had no reply. Excuse me, said a meek voice, and everyone turned to the rescued girl. I am very sorry, Lord Metatron, for causing trouble between you and the one you were trying to protect. Fear not, child. I should have expected his actions. Please don't punish him for trying to save someone who was excommunicated. He did not know, she continued. I doubt it would have made any difference in his actions. He is known as a selfless person nowadays, yes, Naruto-sama? What does excommunicated mean? It means she did something so terrible the church judged her unworthy of going to heaven, replied Rainier. I used the power given to me by the Lord to heal someone. But then we found out that person was a devil, and as punishment I was cast out by the church. Naruto looked at her and blinked. Once, twice, then a slow one. He then turned to Metatron. Before you want to punch me in the face. Too late, the now identified Naruto replied, cracking his knuckles. Seriously, who was that guy? I have nothing to do with this. It is not my department. I was looking around for you. Remember? Okay, the blonde sighed. But warn whoever is responsible that I do not like this. Neither do I. One of the teachings attributed to Christianity is to do good without paying mind to whom. Whoever punished her did so not for going against this, but for embracing it. This will not do. Naruto nodded, serious. And that's when a bunch of people entered the room. Issei-san, Asia said, and only now Naruto noticed an accent. And that she wasn't speaking his language earlier. So he could understand other languages. Neat. Asia, are you all right? A brown-haired boy around their age yelled, worry clear in his voice. We came to save you. Issei-san came for me? Naruto smiled at her, giving her a small pat on her back as he moved away from her and towards the three conscious prisoners. Now, what to do with you three? He mused, looking in their eyes. Oh, and Sleeping Beauty right there. He pointed to Donasek over his shoulder. Rainier looked around, and the four fallen were the only ones remaining. Even Fried had escaped, despite being the first one knocked out. The others were clearly just following orders, Naruto explained. Save for the creepy guy, he actually escaped while I was distracted. Something you four won't do. Why, was all she could ask. I'm new at this whole detecting malice business. Okay? Naruto huffed as if offended. So I didn't notice he was awake until it was too late. Now, I want you three to swear to me that you and the other guy will not go after that girl again. What? Calawarner said. You will let us go, just like that? Sure, Naruto shrugged. I mean, I'll stop you guys again if you ever try to do something evil near me again. But as long as you learn your lesson and don't try to repeat this just because you think my back is turned. The three felt it then. Killing intent so intense they felt like they had already died many times on his attention alone. What is going on here? Said yet another voice, clearly irritated. The voice belonged to a redhead, her hair a bit deeper red than Naruto's mom. Following her was a girl with black hair in a ponytail. Now that he was looking in that direction, Naruto noticed the guy who the rescued girl called Issei, and that called her Asia, had been followed by a blonde dude wielding a sword and a petite white-haired girl that looked at him like she saw a ghost. Something easy to notice when the swordsman and the two that just arrived were looking at Metatron instead. To this, the redhead started, before swallowing her nervousness and trying again. This town was agreed by all three factions to be a joint territory between the Gremory and Citri clans. Explain your presence. Others would think her trembling legs would lower the effect of her words. But Naruto was impressed she was well enough to keep standing with that nervousness. Metatron did not comment about that. I am aware. I was guiding an important charge when we had to take a quick stop in your town. That was when my charge witnessed someone being attacked by my fallen brethren. He impulsively escaped my guard and came to rescue her. And I do it as many times as needed. Naruto crossed his arms, looking away from Metatron's stare. I am aware. Reincarnation clearly didn't help with your stubbornness. That drew everyone's attention. So that guy was the reincarnation of someone important for the forces of heaven. Bucho, he saved Asia. But he is also letting Yuma go. I am so confused if I should insult him or not. Issei finally said. My real name is Rainier, she replied on instinct, forgetting for a second she was being held by someone who defeated their most experienced fighter with 2 hits. What's the problem with letting her go? I mean, sure she wanted to do something bad. But I stopped her, and I think I already punished them enough to put the fear of ever facing me again on them. But she killed me, Issei whined. Naruto just stared at him. I got better thanks to Bucho. High-level devils can resurrect the recently deceased as their servants. Well, I can understand you dislike her, but if you get better you don't need to hold that much of a grudge anymore. Don't hold everyone to your forgiveness standards. I reject his forgiveness anyway, Rainier said, anger pouring through her words. He doesn't deserve an apology from me. Okay, what did he do? Naruto asked, confused by all the vitriol. He was born, she replied. So are you, Naruto pointed out. Rainier rolled her eyes. I was born an angel. I was created to be the example of all that is good in the world, and to serve both Father and the humans. Yet one slip and I was cast away by him forever. Yet he, a pervert, despicable, is blessed with his love, with a sacred gear, a special gift from Father. He is blessed by my Father while I, who don't even remember what I did wrong, so small it must have been, am cast away from his love forever. Naruto's eyes widened. There was anger in his eyes, but it was not directed at her. What? He turned to Metatron of all people, and to her surprise said one word filled with command to the voice of God. Explain. Metatron shook his head. She is wrong. That is not what being a fallen angel means. The EF do you mean? She could hear a voice ask in clear hurt and anger, and it surprised her to notice it was her own. I felt it. I felt him leaving me behind. Being a fallen angel is a punishment, but it was never meant to be eternal. From the first time an angel was cast away, Father explained how they could be brought back. I can only assume the older ones never told the younger generations, since they rejected his offer due to pride. Maybe they even forgot themselves. All he asked for was for you to repent. A sincere apology, motivated not from desire to be forgiven, but from true regret of your actions. Are you saying that the things we do to fill the void are just standing in our way from going back? That all we had to do was see that we did something bad and apologize? Yes. Rainier laughed and cried. Her laughter was hysterical and filled with self-anger. The other 2 fallen angels were crying as well, but they were not as vocal. Rainier was their leader despite everything, and thus the responsibility, the guilt, the punishment for everything was mostly on her. Even Issei said that he couldn't even hate her anymore in those conditions. But the one that asked the next question, something that made everyone pause, was not one of the fallen or Naruto, but the black-haired devil girl. You say all fallen need to do is be repentant of their actions, but what about the ones born fallen? What about those that did nothing wrong but be born? Metatron looked at her. For the same reason humans need to be baptized. Different circumstances, same reasoning. The devil opened her mouth in surprise. Are you saying that if someone born fallen is baptized, they'd become a normal angel? Yes. In theory. No one ever tried. Unfortunately, I do not know if this path is still available for the ones that have been turned into devils. The black-haired devil scrunched her face, but said nothing more. Naruto couldn't stand that scene anymore. The clones released the 3 fallen, and he approached their leader. Hey, it's not so bad, you know? Now you know what you did wrong. So now you can work on fixing it. Fixing it, he says. Rainier snorted before flinching. I don't even remember what I did wrong anymore. Does it matter? Doesn't it just matter if you regret it? It's not that simple. No, it is not, Naruto agreed. But it is not as complicated as you think either. You are just overthinking it. He sighed. How to explain what he meant? I have a friend, but we did not start as friends. In fact, when we first met he was an insane psycho who would kill people for minor annoyances. But that's because he thought it was the only way he could live, killing people to reassure his existence. Just like you guys do evil things to feel better. It was when I defeated him, that I showed him that being powerful and killing to prove it wasn't everything, that he woke up to reality. He ended up becoming one of the most respected people in our lands, and the younger and most respected leader of his country. You guys just went through the same thing. You just had proven to you that the evil things you were doing were not the best way to live. Now you need to do like Gaara did. Turn around and do your best to live a good life. Do you really think it will work? Middle asked. I'm sure. If you do your best to be good, what more can he ask of you? Metatron just looked. It seemed that Naruto had forgotten he was the father they were talking about now. But it's not like that is a bad thing. But all good things must end, and he was sure they did good there. Naruto-sama, we must be going. Yeah, sure. Asia, let's get your luggage. Hope you don't get airsick. Metatron's head jerked. The only way the people there could see he was surprised under his helmet. But she can't come. And why not? Naruto asked, crossing his arms. From what I got, she was in danger because she was punished by your people for helping someone with no bad intentions. I refuse to go if I can't get her there to get reparations, but you can just do it for her. Oh no. I'm not taking responsibility for this. Then you guys will distract me and I'll end up forgetting. What do you think we are? Somewhere with paperwork. That's how those bastards work. Making you forget everything but them. You know, that does explain a lot. Doesn't it? Naruto nodded. Which is why either we take her with me, or I stay here with her until you bring the person responsible. What? No, there is no need, Asia started. But Metatron interrupted, as if not even noticing her. Very well. I agree that this situation is disgraceful. It will take some time for me to convince him to come, though. I made no one aware of you. I was hoping it would be a welcome surprise. But without you there it'll be harder. Naruto nodded. There is no need for you to do that for me, Asia tried again. Naruto promptly flicked her on the forehead, getting a pained ouch from the girl. There was also no need for you to heal anyone just because you can. But you did for them. Let me do this for you too. But you don't even know me. Naruto just shrugged. And am I supposed to only help those I know? While they had that talk, Metatron was looking around the church. Something that confused everyone. He came back nodding to himself and gave Naruto a wallet. You should be able to live here comfortably for some time. But just in case this should help. Are you sure? Naruto asked, a bit afraid. I mean, I'm not of whatever religion this temple is for. Wouldn't they be angry if I stayed here? Metatron chuckled. Do not worry. I may not look like it, but I am a high-ranking member of my religion. Also, this religion's temples are called churches. Everyone else was confused. So, the guy didn't know what a church was, but was somehow important to the church? But he was also angry at them? Also, churches are shelters for those in need, no matter who, as long as their intentions are pure. Which means no one has the right to complain. Naruto nodded. He then looked around. Well, if we'll stay here for a bit, I better clean up the place. He then crossed his fingers, and the area he was in was covered in smoke. The smoke disappeared in thin air, showing over a dozen copies of the blonde. Okay, the first step is checking everything. Look for materials, tools, and the works. We'll only start the work after checking what we have and buying what we may need. Think of this as a D-rank, guys. The copies jumped away at high speeds, so fast even the blonde devil, used to moving at high speeds, just saw blurs. Metatron opened his wings, drawing everyone's attention. His wings opened wide, and an aura of holiness covered him. It was clear his next words were going to be important. Ninjas are awesome. That we are. Naruto nodded sagely in agreement. Everyone else blinked in confusion, save for Rias, whose eyes were filled with stars when she understood what they just said. Rias Gremory. As you can see, someone very important for the Heaven faction has chosen to reside in your territory for now. She nodded while she wasn't happy about the fact. Mostly. An actual ninja. He seemed to only have the best intentions. You are warned. While I understand his motives, I still fear for his safety. In other words, if anything bad happens to him due to your faction's actions, I am having you directly responsible. That means that if your or the Citri siblings do anything to harm him, they warned that it will be not only on their heads, but on yours too. And I am aware they favor your heads over their own. Rias frowned, clearly offended. Are you threatening me into protecting your guest? I made no threats, Gremory. I thought I said the words, be they warned, properly. That means it is no idle threat but an assured warning. He then flared his holy power, a power that clearly dwarfed the power of all supernatural beings present, until Metatron was hit on the head by the very being he was protecting. Stop being such a mother hen, Naruto complained, rolling his eyes. Aren't you a trained diplomat? Act like it. and thus the present were witnesses of the rare sight of Metatron huffing in indignation but doing nothing. Who was that guy? Anyways, do not bother trying to recruit him into becoming your servant. Devil. I am not even afraid of you trying. Oh? So certain of his purity not being taintable. Rias teased. She couldn't deny that the guy was interesting, but she wouldn't think he could be converted. But the dismissal from the angel worked less like a warning and more like a challenge. Oh no, far from it. He'd be tempted by enough bowls of ramen. I'd like to complain, but I really would, Naruto agreed. No, the reason I say that is because I know how your evil pieces system works. How the pieces are limited in power even if they are mutations. In other words, I am not afraid of him being converted into a devil for one simple reason. He approached the Gremory, her fearful face being reflected in his helmet. You do not have enough badges to tame him. That said, Metatron shone extra light, like a slow flashbang, and disappeared in the middle of the light. Did that angel just make a Pokemon reference? Issei asked, fearful. The white-haired petite girl that arrived with him just looks at him, as if asking, this is what you took from the conversation? The blonde boy had a comment of his own. You and Metatron both are not what I expected of members of the church. Well, I'm not, as much as Metatron is trying to recruit me, Naruto said awkwardly. My religion is Ninshu. It has a small mix of Shinto, Buddhism, and smaller influences from others. Naruto woke up in a nice bed. Not exactly a great bed, but not terrible either. It was the old bed reserved for the priest, that the other four insisted on taking. He resisted the urge to groan. He was able to keep the conversation at just Enoch arriving at his village and telling their leader that he was the reincarnation of someone important to heaven and them agreeing on him visiting. He didn't go in details, making them think Enoch didn't go in details. That was enough for the nun that did nothing wrong and the 3 angels that wished to repent. Maybe 4 depending on the 4th fallen's mood and if he listened to them, to treat him as their superior though. Anyway, better get up. Thanks to Enoch, he had to be under the devil leader's eyes while in town, and that meant going to their school. This is going to be so boring. He made some clones to make breakfast for everyone and was on his way to the outside of the church, doing some training early in the morning, when, lo and behold, the 4th fallen was there. The others told me what you and Lord Metatron in person told them, he said, not looking at Naruto. I'd like to thank you. They are good girls deep down, even if Rainier was a bit twisted in her despair. I know, I saw it, Naruto replied, starting some stretches. But you don't sound like you are grateful about the news yourself. The fallen nodded. My name is Danasik. I was born in the rank of the soldiers of heaven during the war. I fought in the war. The war ended, but I enjoyed fighting too much. I still do. I fell because my lust for battle is too big. I can control it, of course, but if the opportunity arrives, I'll definitely do it. And I have no desire to repent for that. Naruto nodded. You reminded me of someone I met when I was young. You are still young. You are what, 16, 17 and a war old. The war ended on my last birthday. Soldier or survivor? Soldier. I joined the fight in the middle, but stayed there until the last blow. Oh, my bad then. Naruto waved him away. That's the thing about war. Those that lived one can split their lives in before and after. As much as he was still the same idiot, nothing would change those that he failed to save, weighing in his memory. Anyways, Zabuza. I was training to be a shinobi at the time. Not sure if you know the word. Shinobi and ninja are culturally known throughout the world, Danasik said. I assume he was a good one? He was known for his ruthlessness and love for killing. And he was definitively bloodthirsty and cruel. The thing is, he was fighting to get money to finance a coup on a tyrant. He had an apprentice that he saw as his own son. He was considered one of the evilest people around, and he definitely acted and probably was the part. But he was using that to help others in his own way. I know it is hard to believe right now, but maybe you can do the same. Your battle lust is a part of you now. But maybe you can focus on doing good. Maybe. Not expecting any more of an answer, Naruto left. Or made to, before Danasik's voice sounded once more. Metatron can't lie. Naruto stopped. I remember this even before father died. He is his voice, and thus he is supposed to be truthful. That means he cannot say the truth, he can be cryptic as anything, but he can't lie. It is literally impossible for him to tell a lie, even if he believes it to be true. Naruto said nothing. The others don't remember, being so young. Maybe they don't even know. But I saw it. I saw his state during the war, how weakened he was, yet he was still a stubborn bastard and fought alongside us. I saw his last moments myself. I don't need him to tell us who you are the reincarnation of. I just needed to talk with you for myself. Naruto stayed still. I know it is hard to believe. You probably still don't and think Metatron is wrong, that I am projecting on you. But I believe in you, even if you don't believe in yourself. Thank you. And with that, Danasik left, leaving behind a Naruto with closed eyes. After talking to those four fallen, he really wished he was the one they were waiting for. If only so he could help them properly. And then a clone exploded while doing research, and Naruto found out about Pastafarianism. Naruto smiled. Metatron, having no idea why, wept. Danasik, having known his father yet having no direct work under him, had a sudden urge to buy popcorn. The ex-but not really none, and the three fallen girls were wondering why they were having ramen for breakfast, so they were distracted. What are you doing here? Everyone looking at the scene was confused, save for the two making it. To everyone's surprise, Hayudu Issei was angry at an attractive girl. Rainier visibly flinched. Oh right, she had been a vixen to him and to Asia. I'm going to study here? And yes, she was clearly a new transfer student, wearing the school uniform, yet no one in the school but those in the know would recognize her. And me too, said Middle to the side. We are trying to apply to work here, said Calawarner, wearing a business suit with a skirt while Danasik clearly wore exercise clothes and a whistle. Issei-san, I know that Rainer-san did some bad things to both of us, but she is trying to turn a new leaf. Please at least give her a chance. Issei took a deep breath, but eventually calmed down. All right, Asia, I'll give her another chance. For you. But then, turning to the black-haired girl, his look was clearly not of someone who forgave her. Do not make me regret this. Rainier just nodded. The group kept going inside the school. And only then Issei noticed the blonde guy. It was Naruto, right? That had helped him save Asia. By doing all the work before he arrived there. The pasta that lives in me salutes the pasta that lives in you. Ramen. Issei looked in confusion at the blonde's retreating back. He was far from the only one. Naruto never met Sona Shirtori, but knew about her. And he already fell in love with one thing about her even before they met. What do you mean someone filled the pool with ramen noodles in the name of the flying spaghetti monster? She apparently had a beautiful screaming in angry disbelief voice. Enoch messed with his cell phone, still waiting for a return message. Sure, others would ask him why not go directly to Michael with the news of the return of their god. Those that asked these questions did not learn from ninjas that every set of rules has exploitable loopholes. He was sure that some of their members had found those and betrayed heaven without turning traitors. Some of the church's actions he was aware of would never be approved through normal channels. And, if someone that was a traitor got wind of the revival of a weakened god, as powerful as Naruto could be, no, it was best to keep it quiet until Michael was able to meet Naruto personally. If only there was a way to get Michael to meet him. If only he had remembered that the others had no idea why he was so into ninjas and not mentioned that Naruto was one in his message. Now Michael was probably thinking he just wanted him to meet his ninja trainer or something. He sighed. Too late to turn back without attracting undue attention. Your pizzas are ready, a waiter told him. He smiled back. Thank you. True, pizzas were not the healthiest of foods to be eating all the time, but the others were so focused with Naruto's new Pastafarian project they many times did not eat until it was too late. All shall be touched by his blessed noodly implements, indeed. And thus was why he exited the pizza store with 6 boxes of the circular Italian food. Sure, pizza is not exactly pasta, but he was sure that if the flying spaghetti monster is real he wouldn't mind much. Ignoring the blonde Kuo student who passed through him as if running from someone, Enoch put the boxes on the back of his bicycle and... Wait, Uzumaki Naruto. Stop right there. Oh father, you son of a... Not showing his annoyance, he turned to the incoming ladies and one gentleman, or as close as a pervert could be. Hello, Shitori-san. How can I help the student council today? Don't, Shitori-san me. Uzumaki-san, Shitori Sona said with a glint of victory in his eye. This time we caught you red-handed. Did you think running away would save you from your punishment? Now come with me back to school. You have a detention to take part in. Enoch grimaced. He'd dislike being punished for Naruto's actions at any point, but at least this time he had an excuse. I am sorry, but you have the wrong person, Shitori-san. As I have witnesses of being here and the still hot pizzas to show for it. I've been here for a while. Oh yeah, then how do you explain this? asked Genshiro Saji, the newest member of the student council. He was waving around a cell phone that was showing a picture of, "I guess I was supposed to see more than a giant finger?" Enoch asked. "Because if not, rude man, what did I do to you?" Saji's eyes widened as he looked back at the phone. "No. Regardless if we have evidence, we caught you red-handed," Shirtorai insisted. "You certainly did not catch me doing anything," Enoch replied with a shrug. "As I already said, I have an alibi and plenty of witnesses. So, unless you think I can be in two places at once." The glint in her eye was gone, and her whole behavior deflated. Enoch could suddenly appreciate why Naruto was doing those things to her. She looked adorable, like a sad puppy. He had to resist the urge to pet her. As much as he saw her as an adorable young girl, she'd see it as a similar-age classmate doing that, and that would be awkward. While it would be entertaining for him if something happened to Naruto due to that, Sona was a victim in this. The temptation of still doing it as a prank on Naruto was strong, but he was also strong. Somewhere else, Naruto frowned. "I'm sorry, but I need to go before the pizzas turn cold. I'm taking them for the others, and I need to enter through the back, else the people there think it is for them too. Not that it'd be bad, but we need to eat too." "You're still doing it? I thought you would have stopped already," said Saji, surprised. "No, sorry. The idea is to spread the noodly love for those in need, and they need to eat every day, so—" "Well, yes, but I thought there wouldn't be enough volunteers or donations," he said, as a way of apologizing. Enoch didn't mention it, but it was an insulting remark. But he would be right. Most of the people working in spreading his noodly love were henged shadow clones, and most of the donations were actually henged shadow clones doing part-time work for now. But the idea was working. More and more people were either working there or giving donations. Soon they'd be able to keep it going with only real people. Now, if someone could convince Naruto to use food other than ramen. "Do you mind if we go with you, Uzumaki-san?" asked the president. "Don't you guys have problems with going to churches or something?" he asked. He knew they didn't save for going right into enemy territory, but asked for appearance's sake. "Oh, do not worry about that. As long as you vouch for us if any angel appears, we won't have any problem," she said, looking him in the eye. The glint in her eyes, it did not seem like she was convinced of his innocence, which made sense if the person that no one else knew looked exactly like him was caught doing whatever he was doing. What was he doing? "So, you mentioned before you thought you saw me doing something? What exactly did you see me doing?" Well, supposedly, were in the president's exclusive bathroom adding mint green hair dye to her shampoo," answered Tsubaki, the vice president. "Then when we caught you, you yelled, 'You'll never catch me.' Blue flash blueberry, and jumped through the window." "I see." With what he knew of her sister, he wondered if she was more angry at the hair dye or the magical girl reference. As they approached the church, they saw the people, a bunch of poor ones, homeless and not, and a few people with more money to spare, but not all of them eating. The food was for free for anyone, but donations were encouraged for those that could pay. "Hey you," sounded a voice none of the present knew, save for Enoch, who heard it a few times while he was in Konoha. It was a blonde woman around their age, a parent in Enoch's case, wearing an apron. Her blonde hair was in a ponytail, with a strand in front almost covering an eye. "Yamanaka-san," he asked. He was ignored, which kinda answered him. "What took you so long? Did you walk all the way here while on a bike?" she asked, making the student council members blush. "Put them in the back, please," she said, eyeing the boxes. "Let's hope enough remains. We don't need many of them." She then turned to the student council, more specifically their clear leader. "Thank you for coming with him. You know how Naruto is doing with what he is supposed to?" Enoch snorted. Yes, he definitely knew. "Take this. Consider it a thank you," the blonde said, giving Sona a brownie. "I made it myself." "Thank you," Sona said, before taking a bite. "Blueberry cheesecake filling." "Really?" Enoch asked, entering the back and meeting Naruto wearing a chef hat topped with a FSM miniature. "I mean, really?" "Hi, Enoch. Did you say hello to Christopher Walken?" Enoch stopped, turned around, then turned back. "Naruto, why is there a clone transformed into Christopher Walken in the kitchen? I think the better question is, why wouldn't there be?" Enoch stopped, closed his eyes, counted to 5 in his head. "I do not think that is the better question, no. The ways of the Lord have no beginning, no end, and are a tangled mess in the middle. That's even less impressive since I know that isn't the proper Pastafarian quote." "Or Lord," Naruto shrugged. "The people eating won't care." "Well, I care. And that is important in its own way. Enoch rubbed his eyes. Why does no one say hello to me? He sighed. Hello, Christopher Walken. Hello. He knew it was a Naruto clone. But he seemed so happy he said hello to him. The student council president caught you playing a prank on her. Now, I know you like playing them. It wasn't me, Naruto said. But the mirth was clear in his voice. Enoch's annoyed look was answered by an equally annoyed one back. I find your lack of faith in my pranking abilities insulting. I am sorry, Darth Prankster. It won't happen again, he answered in a deadpan voice. Make sure it does not. But seriously, he continued after rolling his eyes, you were outright caught. The only reason they don't have it on image is because I ran interference, actually. They were so focused on what was in front of them that Saji didn't even notice the clone beside him with the finger on the camera lens. So you admit it? I admit I was there. Enoch just looked at Naruto, confused. There are always two, a master and an apprentice. Could you at least not be on the evil side? Enoch groaned. I consider myself in the middle between the sides, actually, Naruto admitted. Sure, one is shown as good and the other as evil, but if you actually read the extra materials you see that they both did good and bad things. But one actually pleads emotionlessness and the other says we must enjoy our emotions to the fullest no matter what. I just see them as extremes. Enoch blinked. I actually did take an apprentice in the prankster ways, though, Naruto admitted. Or rather, I made a bet about becoming it and you just confirmed I won. Screw you, brat, came a voice from behind them, clearly trying his best to try and be stealthy while entering. The voice looked like Naruto's but rougher. Not rough enough to feel like it should be bolded in writing, but it was almost. It looked like Naruto. But the birthmarks in his cheeks, and Enoch knew Naruto's were birthmarks, since he had them too, were thicker, and the eyes were red. You must be Kurama. He was ignored. Kurama was too occupied glaring at a smiling Christopher Walken. Took some time until, fine, he yelled exasperated, throwing his arms to the air. Hello, Christopher Walken. Hello. Report, Naruto said without even turning. What for? The 12-winged bird already told you I lost. I want to hear in your own words why you lost. The Kurama-possessed clone growled. But did it? I thought it would be easy. I've been seeing you do those for years, since you were a toddler practically, so how hard could it be? I overestimated my skills. I underestimated my targets. I did not expect them to arrive then and there and had no plan of escape. You had no plans, but what would be your objective? You judged the task easy and thus went at it half-heartedly. And thus you lost. If you had taken it seriously, you would probably have won. But that was my whole point, you never took pranking seriously. Did not notice how much information gathering, stealth, enemy positioning recognizance and trap-making skills were needed until you saw them in your own flesh. Yeah, let's just get this training over with. Naruto said nothing for a while, until yet another bowl of ramen was ready to serve. No, Kurama repeated, confused. What do you mean, no? I don't like your attitude. You won't take the training seriously, we'll suck at it, and we will both just waste our time. Will suck at it? Naruto nodded. You won't take it seriously because you'll see it as just doing your part of the deal. If you'll half-ass it, better not do it enough. What are you implying? Slackers 151. Since you have done a half-ass job, you will receive half an ass. Enoch's eye twitched. Did Naruto really quote from the Pastafarian book as if someone was doing so from the Bible? I'll show you a half-ass job. Teach me your secrets. I'll be so good a prankster I'll be better than you in no time. Prove it. I will. A folder slid on the ground until reaching Kurama's feet. In it was the physical profile, perfect enough for Kurama to henge into easily, and entrance files for Kuo for one Minamino Shuichi. Even used the same kanji as the one named Kurama in Yu Yu Hakusho. In fact, the only visible difference were the red eyes. I went through the trouble of arranging an interview for you for tomorrow. If you do it, then you'll have to suffer the consequences yourself to be motivated to avoid them. Kurama nodded, taking the file and turning into the guy in them. Then finally the coin dropped. He turned to Enoch, confusion clear on his face. Did I just willingly agree to be his prankster apprentice? Enoch nodded, and put his hand on Kurama's shoulder. He only said one word, but the feeling of it was undeniable. How? I don't know, Kurama replied, confused. I blame Christopher Walken. Hello. Sona Citri, also known as Shirtorai Sona, invaded the church. Or rather, she walked angrily inside, followed by her peerage. To invade would mean one of the people inside would acknowledge her. Hello. Hello, she said to the Christopher Walken look-alike. As was being said, to invade would mean the people inside would acknowledge her as a threat. Are you looking for Naruto-sama? Asked Middle-Tamano, or whatever was her real name out of school, not looking up from her manga. While still respectful of him, there was none of the awe for him in her voice from their first day at school. Like a younger sibling that respected the older sibling but was fully aware of how embarrassing her actions were. No, she was not projecting. Yes, I have matters to deal with him. Middle just stood up and went to call him deep inside the church. By the way, the hair color fits you. Sona did not reply, save by taking a deep breath to calm down. She threw away all the hair care products in that bathroom, just in case, and bought brand new ones. Her hair was turned mint green anyway, and to make matters worse, pictures of an anime magical girl that seemed suspiciously like a tanned version of her with the new hair color were spread through school. The footsteps approached confidently, neither fast nor slow. If she didn't know better, she'd think it was really a priest coming. Asia Argento, the nun, opened the door, something that seemed to annoy a bit the man she had come to see. Rainer Amano, the other fallen to enter school as a student, was talking to him about the minutiae of his communitary work, a clipboard in her hand. Seeing him actually working like she did at school, and she was pretty sure Rias did not, almost made her sympathize with him. Almost. Ah, student council president, he said with a happy voice, mirth clear in his eyes. The pasta in me salutes the pasta in you. She raised an eyebrow. His boisterous attitude now was completely different from their conversation the previous day. Uzumaki-san, she started, as neutral as she could under the circumstances. Do you remember the conversation we had yesterday while you were bringing pizza? Nope, she faltered. You don't remember? Nope, no idea. Between all the work yesterday, I don't remember meeting you after leaving school. Also, nice hair contrasts with your eyes. Yes, the hair you claimed yesterday you were not responsible for, because I wasn't. You can claim you did not do it all you want. I know you are responsible, and I will find a way to prove it. Behind her, her whole peerage nodded. I won't. Sona blinked in confusion. Won't what? Claim I'm not responsible. So you admit it was you yesterday? Nope. But you just said. Sona-san, you are supposed to be the smart one of us too. Think about what I said. Sona did so. You did not do it, but you were responsible? Close, but not what I said. You did not do it yesterday, but you were responsible? Ding ding ding, we have a winner. Sona's mouth was open. It was one thing for him to lie or use wordplay. It was another to explain his wordplay. And why do you admit this? Uzumaki shrugged. Because it doesn't matter, really. I got what I was going for. You had more in mind than to humiliate me? He rolled his eyes. I did not humiliate you. I chose the color that I thought would suit you after all. If I was going to humiliate you, I could do much worse. Then the pamphlets make it seem like you are just cosplaying a magical girl. Unless you have something against that, I think everyone else will just think you have some hobbies they didn't know about. He is kinda right, Kaicho, Saji admitted. I mean, you look pretty nice, and all the guys agree. Sona glared at her pawn, but he did not know. And Uzumaki, trust me, if I really wanted to humiliate you, you'd know. Uzumaki could be really creepy if he wanted to. So this has nothing to do with my sister? You have a sister? He asked back. His surprise was genuine as far as she could tell. She shook her head. Never mind. Then why did you do it? I never claimed I did it either. Her mouth opened, then closed. He just claimed he was responsible, but you never claimed you did not either, she countered. He smiled at her. Yeah, I did not, did I? Sona frowned at him. This conversation was going nowhere. I see. I appreciate your honesty, Uzumaki-san. And be warned. There will be consequences for your actions. She turned to leave. She started walking to the exit. She did not arrive. Hey, Sona-san, Naruto finally said. Hey! Be respectful. Saji was ignored. Sona looked at him in his eyes. It felt like the world was losing its light, all of it belonging only to Naruto. As far as she was concerned, the two were alone in a field of darkness, only them existing for a while. You are a good person, Sona-san, he finally said. A bit strict, but I know there is a good person deep inside. Thank you. I don't know what your problem is with your sister, but I apologize. I will think of a prank unrelated to this one in the future. Her eye twitched. I'd rather you did not pull pranks on me at all. And I'd rather you became my apprentice as a prankster. But we both know this won't happen for now. You make it sound like it could happen in the future. The ways of your noodly highness have no beginning, no end, and are a tangled mess in the middle. The only way of knowing the future is the very second it becomes the past. Now, if you don't mind, I think we both have a job to do. Ramen. And just like that, the world returned to normal. Understanding the final word as the dismissal it was, she turned to her peerage and they left the church. Goodbye, said the Christopher Walken look-alike. Goodbye. Ria's eyes widened as Naruto entered the Occult Research Club's clubroom. She had been so occupied that she forgot to warn Naruto not to go there today. She still remembered Metatron's threat, and shivered. Right now, Naruto was at the worst place outside the underworld for an important member of heaven as far as she knew. Right in front of the wife and personal aide to the current Lucifer. Oh, but that wasn't enough for him. Come on, smile, he kept saying as the others entered the room. And Grafia kept looking at him like an insect. Oh sure, for anyone else she seemed impassive, but she knew Grafia since she was a baby. She did not appreciate the attention. And she definitely did not appreciate him losing patience and trying to push the sides of her mouth upwards with his fingers. Surprisingly, her mouth was held serious with such force he was sliding back on the floor. Come on, just a quick smile. A small one. As my job as the head maid of the Gremory clan, all I hear are excuses. You're still human? Devil. Not a robot. I do not see how it is relevant. Rias wanted to be afraid for him. She really did. But the scene was just too surprisingly entertaining. It was like looking at a train wreck. She briefly wondered how long it would take before she turned him into a block of ice. The only reason she didn't yet was probably she had patience training from dealing with her brother. But she still had to wonder how far she could still go. And she lifted him by the neck and threw him onto one of the sofas around. That was needlessly aggressive, but why? Oh. In the middle of the room, dangerously close to where he was previously standing, a magic circle appeared and caught fire. If it was someone else there, she would swear it was just a justification though. The flames rose, making a pillar that covered vision, and the silhouette of a man could be seen through the flames. Naruto, at a speed she could barely see, put his hands in a weird position and spat. The very next second, Riser Phoenix's face was having an extremely close encounter with a wall, courtesy of a powerful jet of water. Naruto took a heavy blanket out of nowhere and, without bothering to unfold it, started beating Riser while yelling, "Stop, drop, and roll. Stop, drop, and roll. Stop, stop," yelled Riser. "Drop and roll," yelled Naruto back. Behind them, she noticed a slight raising of the corner of Grafia's lips. By her side, Akino was laughing quietly, but it was clear to her she was holding back on guffawing. The scene was surreal to Rias. "Uzumaki-san," Grafia finally said, "you were supposed to smother the flames with the blanket, not beat on them." With a nod, he opened the blanket and covered Riser. The older blonde struggled, but Naruto hugged him, holding him still. "Shoo, don't worry. You're safe now." "I don't feel safe," came Riser's voice from under the blanket. "I feel the opposite of safe." Rias couldn't hold back her laughter much longer, so she had to end this quickly. "Uzumaki-san, this is Riser Phoenix. He has control over fire, he wasn't burning." "Oh," Naruto said, letting go of Riser sheepishly. "Sorry, man. Didn't think it was just you showing off." Riser, now free to do so, said nothing but threw the blanket away, looking at it with deep loathing. I know how presentation is important. I used to show off all the time when I was younger and had much more bark than bite." Riser grit his teeth. Everyone seemed to get the implied insult. But Naruto did not seem like he had tried to insult him, and was just stating a fact of his childhood. He looks around, until his eyes finally meet her. "Alright," she forgot. "My lovely Rias. I came to see you." "Wow, rude much," Naruto says, while Riser's body heats up just enough to evaporate the water on him. A frivolous use of his fire magic, but he seems overly proud of it. Rias resists the urge to sigh, already wanting to punch his smug face. "Now then, Rias," he says, overly familiar, "let us go and take a look at the ceremony hall. The date of the ceremony is decided, so we need to check it before then." He went to grab her arm. "Let go of me, Riser," Rias says back with all the disgust she can, promptly pushing his hand away. She wanted to destroy it, but knew she would just grow a new one anyway. And, as always, Riser just stands there, smirking at her. How she wished to punch that smug smirk out of his face. "Hey, I don't think she likes you much. Naruto says the obvious. Oh, don't worry about it. Riser dismisses it. She is just being a tsundere. Rias blinks in confusion. What? No, she knows what a tsundere is, but when did she ever hint of a dear side related to him? I don't know, man. I met tsunderes, so I can tell how they act. She is nice to anyone but you as far as I could tell. Yes. Tell him how it is, Naruto. No, you see, there are two types of tsunderes. The Tsun type and the deer type. The ones you are used to are probably the Tsun types, who are angry at all but the ones they like. Rias is a Dere type, who is just to the one she likes. You are delusional, she says before she can help it. See, Rises points to her. And it seems like he really thinks so. No, I swear on my life. You are delusional. Your appearance is something I'd find just as easily in a host's club, and I have not an iota of attraction to your personality, and in fact it repulses me. Riser looks at Naruto and rolls his eyes, that annoying smirk still on his face. But even if she doesn't, he continues, we are already engaged anyway. Wait, really? And she just accepted that despite acting like she hates you? I definitely did not. Rias entered the conversation. In fact, I am doing my best to convince everyone involved in this marriage contract to set me free of it. Naruto turns to Riser. And you just are going to take it like that? Of course, Riser says with a chuckle. Why would I fight it? Naruto nods. All right. Taking the lazy pity route. Excuse me? Riser says suddenly, clearly offended. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Well, it is clear that you either are not willing to put work on getting a girl or have no confidence. If you are going for the way to get her that someone else does all the work for you and you just enjoy it. Riser looks furious at Naruto and snaps his fingers. Once more the room's teleportation circle is turned into the Phoenix one without Ria's permission, and 15 women appear in the middle of the room. You see these women? Save for Ravel, who is my sister and doesn't count. They all joined my peerage because they love me, and yet you are only marrying Gremory-san because she is being forced into it. Guess someone lost his groove. Riser stepped back as if he had been slapped. I did not lose my groove. Rias' eyes widened, looking around in confusion. What was going on? And why was someone that looked so much like Christopher Walken in a corner of the room? The Christopher Walken waves at her, so she awkwardly waved back. Naruto says nothing, just crosses his arms and gives Riser a look. Riser's eye twitches. All right, maybe I've been a bit complacent nowadays since my marriage with her is already a done deal, and I didn't put any effort in romancing her. Rias was trying to resist the urge to snort, but that also meant that Riser would probably try to romance her. She was not looking forward to it. You know, you could also go for someone else. Not saying she isn't good looking, but she isn't all that either. Now her eye was twitching. No can do. Riser shook his head slowly. You see, not only is she a pure blood devil, which is becoming rare, she also got the power of destruction. Can you imagine the power available to someone with both the power of destruction and a phoenix regeneration? So, she is the only pure-blood Gremory available with the power of destruction? The power of destruction comes from my mother's clan, the Bales. Rias interrupted. That said, I'm pretty certain I have some cousins that are pure-blood and also have it. Naruto nodded and turned to Riser. So Riser Phoenix, what will you do? Will you throw your pride away and prove your lack of game going through the motions of the contract? Or will you do things the worthy way and try to get a wife worthy of you on your own? But what of Ria's feelings for me? She is too shy to admit and masks them with disdain. If she really likes you, for real, she will be able to throw her pride aside and admit it for you before it becomes too late. Trust me, this is the best for both of you. Riser Phoenix looked to the ground, then back at Naruto's eyes, a fire literally consuming his. Grafia-sama, please inform the Gremories that from now on the marriage contract is being considered invalid by both parties. If Rias Gremory ever changes her mind, a new contract will have to be made. Then Riser, along with his peerage, left the room through a magical circle. Everyone stood still. Everyone. Really? Naruto of all people asked. No, really? He sighed. That was a waste of my talents. Let's get going, Christopher Walken. May the pasta be with you. Everybody, goodbye. No one moved as Naruto left the room. What just happened? A voice asked. Rias took a few seconds to understand it was her own. Apparently, your acquaintance convinced Riser Phoenix that there was no worth in marrying you if the only reason was the contract between your families. Grafia replied, deadpan. That young man has problems. Riser or Naruto? Grafia-san? Akino asked, a bit of her energy returning. The maid thought for a bit. Both. Now, if you excuse me, I have a marriage contract to nullify. Rias nodded instead of saying anything, and Grafia left. All she could think about was Naruto and the stunt he pulled, replaying the whole conversation in her head. Was this guy for real? Rias had to wonder how much of his performance had been real and how much was an act. But more importantly, what did he mean when he said she wasn't all that? Naruto stared at the empty table in front of him. He held this power before. He saved lives and recreated whole organs with it. Eyes are organs, right? It was his power, Enoch had said, not the sun marks. The mark only helped him focus it. After all, Sasuke wasn't throwing Izanagi's with the moon mark. So, he should be able to use it again even without the arm that once held the mark. And even if it was the mark's power, it was really linked not to his arm but to his soul. He should still be able to use it to help. Taking a deep breath, Naruto put his chakra in his newly invented technique. What's going on? Asked Middle, seeing the strange scene. Naruto, the one that gave them hope back, was crying on a confused Rainer's shoulder. A cup of noodles was on the table, uneaten. That last part, more than anything, terrified the smaller Fallen. Calawarner was not so cautious, walking forward. There was only one possible cause of this outburst in her eyes. She only needed to confirm it. Naruto-sama, did you try to use holy powers to make your cup ramen ready without having to wait 3 minutes? Rainer and Middle twitched. What the? Naruto's suffering nod confirmed it. Calawarner turned the cup upside down, letting the cold water and burned noodles escape. Rainer quickly and annoyed pushed Naruto off her. He simply allowed himself to fall to the ground. The hell? Middle asked. Our greatest minds have been looking for a way to properly do it ever since it was invented. Naruto-sama is just the latest one to try and fail. Calawarner gently lifted Naruto again and took Rainer's position. I am a monster, came Naruto's weak voice. You just made a mistake. And you were not the first one, nor will you be the last. Kala-chan. Rainer looked to Middle. Middle looked to Rainer. Rainer mouthed, what the? Middle shrugged. I get the feeling we just avoided something stupid, Danasik said, looking deeply inside his beer bottle. I agree, Enoch replied. Then he sighed. I wish I could walk around here without a helmet. I mean, it is a cool helmet, but it makes my voice sound all bold and centered. I don't think that's how voices work. I know, that's how it feels. Though, as weird as it sounds. Danasik shook his head, then remembered the sensation of Metatron's business voice. A rumble more than a voice, that felt like it was resonating from inside him rather than from the speaker. So, what do you know? Danasik asked. I mean, what was Michael's answer about meeting him? That he is occupied right now. Danasik's eyes widened. Occupied? With what? Metatron shrugged. Probably trying to see if I am serious about wanting to talk to him. I wasn't the most stable when Naruto-sama got powerful enough to sense this side of the dimensional void. Come, my fellow ninjas. Our enemies approach. Metatron, they are just. Use my call sign, Goldbird. With a sigh, Michael continued. Terror who flaps in the night. I don't think these guys dressed like pirates on Halloween are real pirates. And even if they were, everyone knows pirates and ninjas were not really enemies. Also, we are not ninjas. Are you on the gardener's side now, Goldbird? What do you have against gardeners? Asked Gabriel, her face filled with confusion. Metatron turned to them, madness shining through his helmet. I learned in the flesh to never mess with a florist. Really? Danasik asked, eyes wide. I know, but someone filmed it. Enoch replied, embarrassed. I wouldn't be able to tell. The only thing I remember between October 9th and November 10th is that 1 second I was doing laundry, and the next I was next to a jacuzzi filled with instant ramen. Danasik's eyes widened. He got that much more power out of nowhere just like that? Enoch nodded. Yeah, it was like he broke through a limit or something and I was caught in the backlash. Funny thing is, all of their artificial flavors were mixed masterfully. It still tasted artificial, but it also felt like a chef mixed them or something. His companion nodded. That sounded like someone overcharged with Naruto energy would do, and he barely met this new incarnation for a couple weeks. Wait, don't Pastafarians believe pirates are priests or something? Or something, not much of a Pastafarian myself. Why is it this what you take from that story? Danasik shrugged. Anyways, that was the last time we met face to face. And I don't trust everyone enough to send the info in a message. Danasik raised an eyebrow. You are saying you may have traitors. Isn't that impossible? It is impossible for me to lie, but I can bend the truth, Enoch replied. So I'd rather not leave Naruto alone, nor let his real status be known, unless really needed. Donasek nodded. While it was hard for him to believe an angel would try to erase the reincarnation of their father, the fact was many who fell were not just for small mistakes like the girls. And if they could avoid falling to better get their wishes, they would. Uzumaki-san, Minamino-san, I thank you for your presence, Sona said neutrally. Kurama rolled his eyes, while Naruto looked at her confused. You bribed Middle-chan and Kaneko-chan with ice cream if they brought us. While I can understand Kurama, why not just call me? I'm only here because I chose to be. Their kicked puppy eyes did nothing to me. Nothing. Sona ignored his outburst, only putting a piece of paper in front of them. Naruto's eyes widened, and his mouth became a nostalgic smile. Oh, I remember this. Man, hard to believe it has been almost 10 years since I made this. Wait. He looked at Sona in surprise. How do you have this? Why is your eye twitching? We found this in the teacher's lounge, Sona replied, where it was used. We also found strands of red hair stuck to the fan that were of an auburn color most associated with Minamino-san. Naruto blinked. Sona blinked back. The next second, Naruto was holding the ear of a cursing Kurama. Are you telling me my apprentice here, instead of doing what he was supposed to, stole a plan I made when I was 7.5 and failed where I succeeded? Sona blinked. Ow! I had a creative block. You made this plan when you were not even 8, Uzumaki-san? I must admit, it is impressive, Sona said. She was against pranks in principle but couldn't deny it was well-made planning, especially for that age. Thank you. Unfortunately, it seems I was a bit too early to take apprentices. It is clear that it was Konohamaru that was a great apprentice, and my teaching skills are not as good as I expected. That hurts, man, Kurama complained, still trying to free his ear. Right here. I wonder what would happen if you applied the same focus on other school subjects. Nothing much, I think, Naruto shrugged. While there are freaks that can do both like I read about Da Vinci, you can't expect most artists to be good at physics calculations. Do you consider pranking an art, Uzumaki-san? Sona asked, curious. An art, training in various fields, both physical and mental, entertainment. Pranking is a field with a wide range of skills demanded, and also a wide range of benefits when properly applied. And I still believe you have potential in this field. Her eyebrow rose. Really, Uzumaki-san? Are you trying to coerce me into joining you under these circumstances? I admit it is not ideal. Kurama is my apprentice more due to his pride than actual love for the art. But you, I can see the desire for it under your strictness. A wish to sow chaos where you usually place order. A work in contrast that may make you shine beautifully. Sona blushed. True, none of his words were romantic in nature, but the way he said it felt like velvet wrapping around her heart. Are you not affiliated with the church, Uzumaki-san? What would they say if they heard you talking like this? Oh? Feeling tempted, Shitori-san. I have no idea what you were talking about, she replied, adjusting her glasses. Get a room, you two, Kurama said. He was ignored by Sona. We are in a room, Kurama, Naruto said, pointing to the closed door guarded by Tsubaki. He then turned to Sona, his gaze disappointed but understanding. The offer is still open, Shitori-san. With that said, Naruto left the room, pulling Kurama by his ear. Sona threw herself backwards, allowing herself to relax on her chair. Kaicho. Uzumaki-san left with Minamino-san. The plans and no punishment. She promptly face-bombed, then looked forwards, eyes glinting under her glasses. You win this match, Uzumaki-san. But I will not give up so easily. Hello? Naruto-kun, Minamino-san, said Rias, approaching the duo. Gremory, Kurama said as an answer. He ignored the glares, his lack of honorific being seen as a slight by most. It wasn't like he cared even to address the teachers properly, and they should count themselves lucky he even addressed people by name. Hey Naruto-kun, I brought too much lunch today. Would you like to share it with me? Oh, I already ate, but why don't you share it with Sona-chan? She seemed like she hadn't been eating right when I left. I see, Sona-chan, Rias laughed, but even Kurama shivered a bit at that laugh. Is she the kind of girl you like? Naruto missed the obvious question. Of course. I like to have friends of all kinds. Wow. She is really laying it thick with him. And he won't even notice. Rainier complained to Issei and Asia. Why are you talking to me? Issei asked, confused. He would be irritated, but he just couldn't now that she really seemed to be trying. Call him a sucker for a cute face. It is the truth after all. You're the only guy I knew before coming here besides him. And as much as I enjoy it, the other's enjoyment of being treated like the trash they are gets old. Trying really loosely had most of the males wrapped around her fingers, but trying. Middlet was the same, but being spoiled by the older students instead of asked to step on them by the males. If he didn't know they really are sisters, that would prove it. She just can't take the hint that he is not interested. Actually, the history teacher, also known as Miss Calawarner, joined their conversation. He knows she is only trying to heal her wounded ego. He is more observant than most give him credit for. Not that it is a high bar, Rainier snarked. So, this is the one that broke the arranged marriage between the Phoenix and Gremory with nothing more than words? The woman asked, observing a picture taken of Uzumaki Naruto. Yes, mistress, replied her male companion, subservience clear in his voice. Unfortunately, I do not believe he would agree to join us. Don't you think? I agree, mistress. He did not strike me as someone who would join us during our meeting. A shame. I'd still like to meet him, though. I'd like to properly thank him for the opportunity. Make sure he comes to our meeting. As you wish, my mistress. And stop the jealous stares at the picture. Riser. Do not worry, your position is not at risk. As you wish, my mistress. I am sorry. Yup, you were right. Sorry. But I'm not into this. Lesrith Bale, Riser Phoenix's new betrothed, pouted. It would have been cute and made him rethink his words. But that would be the opposite of what she wanted, since she and Riser were wearing the closest to socially acceptable fetish gear in order to try and tempt him into becoming her second submissive. I'm really sorry. I just already have enough of obeying women outside the bedroom, he explained. Lesrith sighed, but nodded in acceptance. I understand. Riser was the opposite, all the other women in his life but his mom just obeying him. Even Yubaluna, as much as she seems otherwise. I think that's what attracted him to my cousin. Naruto nodded in understanding. Well, I'm glad the both of you were able to find each other and are both happy. Yes, I admit he seemed a little too arrogant at first, but he is a much better person now that I was able to remove that figurative stick from his rear. Naruto nodded, and put a real one in its place. Too much info. If she was honest with herself, she was enjoying this a bit too much. But Sona couldn't help it. Naruto was the only heterosexual male in the whole school to not worship the ground Rias walked on. Even her pawn who claimed to like her instead did it a little. And that was making Rias go crazy. In fact, Rias, with all your complaining when he is out of earshot while hitting on him mercilessly when you see him, I think Riser may have had a point about you being a bit of a tsundere. That's not funny, Sona. Rias almost yelled. For you, Rias pouted. But seriously, Rias, what would you do if he ever accepted your hints and went for it? It's not like you'd really go for. Rias put a picture in front of Sona. Oh my, you could grind cheese on those abs. Wait, how did you get this? Oh, look at the time. Today is PE, isn't it? Can't leave Donasek-sensei waiting. You know how serious he is about his job? And making the boys sweat? Like Naruto-kun? Rias, if you want to avoid the conversation and run away with an excuse, you should keep moving, not freeze mid-run to start drooling. Rias quickly cleaned her mouth and did so. Sona sighed. Seriously? No wonder you got along with Hayudu. You can be as bad as him. She then noticed the picture she forgot, and promptly hid it in her bag. Not like I can blame you. Naruto, I'm not letting you make an obstacle course ever again, Donasek said, deadpan. It's not that bad. Naruto, it is my job to keep them healthy. They are only bruised. You used explosives. They were calculated to not even hit them. It's just pyronka. Pyrotechnics, I know. But keep them healthy includes not traumatizing them. Naruto pouted. Michael frowned once more. The godly system had been behaving oddly for a couple weeks already. But not better or worse, just wrong. He was pretty sure there was not supposed to exist a sacred gear called Pearl Jam that could heal people when used on Italian cuisine. Or ramen. And why did Gabriel start talking about crazy diamonds when he mentioned it? Naruto stared into her eyes. I'm not sorry. The girl's eyes twitched. You asked for a pizza with pineapple. I never had it before. I didn't even know it was possible. It is not. It is an abomination against nature. You're exaggerating. It's not that bad. Middle sighed. I am a food connoisseur, Naruto. While other fallen were enjoying the pleasures of the flesh or feeding themselves on pure lust for battle, I was infiltrating the best restaurants and drinking the best wines. You are amazed that someone made tomato ramen flavoring. Of course. I never saw an actual tomato-flavored ramen before. Middle sighed again. Why aren't you helping me? Kaneko shrugged. I like Hawaiian. Of course you would. It doesn't matter the abomination. It would be all right with you as long as it is sweet. Kaneko shrugged. It was true. Her dream is to meet a giant marshmallow man. And eating it, she was promptly hit in the head. Her eyes narrowed. Naruto's narrowed back. She had no idea how he knew what she was thinking. But he wouldn't stop her. She would become the goddess of the sweet whirl. She paused, rethought that properly, nodded to herself. Too much anime in a day, she concluded. Somewhere else, Ria's eyes narrowed, as if a blasphemy was uttered, but she was too far out of earshot to correct them. Akino served her current visitor some tea, confused. Era. Naruto-kun. Not that I'm complaining, but what are you doing in the occult research club at this time of the day? She was sure that Rias was looking for him on the exact opposite side of the school. Actually, I wanted to ask you guys for a favor. Rias-sama's measurements are 99-58-90. She replied with a smirk. Probably wouldn't be what he wanted, but knowing how much boys like to have these numbers. Okay? I'm not thinking of buying her clothes, though, or transform into her, but not like they knew he could do that. Akino blinked at that. Well, that was a quick dismissal of something most males would be begging for. Not that she had any idea why the numbers were important herself. She was more proud of how she looked with her measurements than their values. Well, no matter. She sat down in front of him, crossing her legs and throwing her hair over her shoulder, something that seemed to drive the boys crazy. But not Naruto, who didn't seem to notice. Rias was getting frustrated with her inability to approach the buyer in front of her, judging from her complaints. Well, Akino now had him right where Rias wanted. Now, how to better tease him? So, she said, one arm under her breasts pushing them upwards while the other hand played with her hair. What exactly is it that you were wishing for? I must warn you that some things would need Bucho's permission. But if it is something I could help you with, well, yeah, I was actually hoping to ask you. Oh? Akino couldn't resist licking her lips. She had seen that picture. And while she wouldn't do anything with the guy, she couldn't help imagining him begging her to serve her. Well, I may be wrong, but you seemed like a magic specialist judging from how you seemed to stay away from the fight in the church, while the others save for your leader seemed to be close quarters. I was kinda hoping for some help learning it. I tried some of the light-based magic the guys with me in the church knew, but it was mostly instinct for them. Oh, it was that. Not what she hoped, but... Oh? You must have been observing me very well. Naruto nodded. Don't tell Rias. But... My instincts tell me you are more trouble to me than her. Akino licked her lips again. It may not be what she wished it was, but it was still a very nice compliment in her opinion. Oh? Would you say I am more... dangerous? No doubt about it. Rias is more powerful, but your eyes are definitely more... predatorial. She giggled. Well, I don't like bragging, but everyone says I am pretty good. But... You'll need some more magical knowledge before I could try giving you more... private lessons. He shrugged. Makes sense. She giggled again, wondering how much of his innocence was an act, and how much she'd need to teach him. She shook her head while standing up, moving essentially as she could, and she considered herself great in that. She moved to a bookcase at a wall to the room, and put her index finger on her mouth as if pensive, looking around it. Ah, these books should do it, she said, gathering about 4 medium-sized books. We don't have any advanced books I'd be allowed to lend you, but these are the best for beginners. As she came back to the table with them, though, the first bell to go back to classes sounded through the school. Even there. Oh, too bad. You can take them with you, though, as long as you promise to bring them back soon. I was gonna ask if I could use this room to read them during class? Kino frowned. Naruto-kun, while I know you are not a fan of the classes, I can't approve of you staying here and skipping them, as she expected. Naruto sighed at that. But if I wasn't skipping class, I could? But you would be? He crossed his hands, and exploded in smoke. And, as the smoke dissipated, oh right, I remember something like this in the church, for more Narutos appeared from the smoke. Then there is no problem if they stay here, right? Right? Himejima-san. Okay. He gently pushed the stunned devil back to the main building, ignoring the Jiraiya-like smile and droll. Your next worlds are going to be, for the love of Father Gabriel. Stop imitating this JoJo thing. For the love of, ugh. Why? Hey, Kurama? The fox in a human body asked, eating a meat stick and actually reading Yu Yu Hakusho while Naruto worked. His favorite, surprisingly, was not his namesake. But hi, do you feel like there is something missing? Kurama looked at the broth he was working on. No, it looks just like the recipe the Ichiraka girl taught you. Not that. Oh, why bother? I'll think about it later. I'm surprised, Rainier pointed out. If something was bugging me like that, I wouldn't be able to concentrate on anything else. Naruto shrugged. No point in worrying about it. After all, everything seemed to be going fine, so he'd rather enjoy it while he could. Ramen, where are you? Came the message on Enoch's phone. The same place as last time, he replied. Koa's abandoned church. Waiting for you to have enough time to come. Took some time for a message to come back. Does that mean you are feeling better? I am stable, yes. Good. Your attitude was worrisome. Enoch couldn't help but scoff at that. I have no idea what happened. The only reason I know I was not in a month-long coma is because I saw some videos. The reply, once again, took some time to come. Does that mean Gabriel won't remember how she is acting either? Her attitude seems much less unpredictable than yours, but it is still worrying. Oh, I do not think she will forget. I was literally drowned in the cause. She is most likely only a bit sensitive to its influence. Yes, she has always been a sensitive one. Her memory is good. I must admit her current behavior is a bit annoying, but the new ways to use holy energy seems pretty useful. That's good to hear, I think. So, when will you get time to get here? Funny you mentioned someone going to Kuo. Enoch read the following messages with his full attention. That wasn't good. Hey, Uzumaki-san? Naruto stopped. He was taking a walk after the daily feeding, because just cooking and studying was boring. On the side of the road was a disheveled Yudo, holding a sword. Hey dude, are you alright? Yeah, I'm okay, he replied. I'm just dealing with something. Oh, okay. If you need help with anything, just ask. Well, I'm kinda trying to find a holy sword. Have you ever heard of Excalibur? A bit, Naruto admitted. It was given to King Arthur when his first sword broke by the Lady of the Lake. When he was dying, he had to order his knight 3 times before he was obeyed, and the sword was given back to the lake, where her hand was seen taking it back. It is supposedly a great blade, but the most important part is the sheath, which could heal most wounds. That's nice, Kiba said. His mind was reeling. If the Excalibur was returned to the lake, then what was the holy sword he wanted to destroy? Hey, wait! Are you fishing for the sword? What? No, you can't fish for swords. They aren't alive to bite the bait. You have no idea, Kiba. You have no idea. The expression on Naruto's face. Kiba couldn't help but shiver. Okay, Naruto then said, pumping his fist. If we can't fish the sword, then we fish the Lady of the Lake. Now what do we use as bait? What would she... like... Say Kiba, you are popular with women, aren't you? No. Don't even think about... Metatron was looking for Naruto. He knew Naruto was a ninja, but he thought he was justified in not trusting Naruto's abilities to keep quiet. If he met the exorcist without him there to do damage control, Naruto was strong, but he was also too important to risk it. He shouldn't have worried. In front of him was Naruto, doing something he never expected Naruto would do. Fishing with a pole. Seriously, he expected him to jump into the lake and chase the fish with a knife. Was he being weird to think so? Wait, is that a person tied under the water as bait? Not even Metatron himself knew what happened between when he noticed that and when he was pulling the fishing pole upwards. What are you doing? Excalibur hunting, Naruto answered. Help me. Metatron froze. Okay, calm down. From Naruto's tone, he had no idea what was going on. And Yudo clearly did not want to fill him in, or was able to, but still he had to ask. He just had. Why? I'm not sure. I just have the feeling. The sword wants me to find it. Metatron nodded. The original Excalibur was more than just the famous sword of King Arthur. It was a great artifact of the Fae. And if Naruto was able to wield the real deal, that'd mean the Fae would see him as worthy of an alliance. And more importantly, he was in a lake out of the way. Of exorcists, of holy sword thieves, and of anyone really. Very well, carry on. You son of a dash. If you had given me time to explain, said a completely damp Kiba, I'd have told you that 1. I'm not looking for that Excalibur, and 2, even if I was, the lake it would be in England, far away from here. Well, next time explain yourself better, Naruto shrugged. In battle, taking so long could be the difference between life and death. As a swordsman, you should know that Kiba wanted to complain, but as much as he wanted, Naruto had a point. There are 7 swords known as the Excaliburs, each supposedly being forged from a piece of the original one. They are known as the most powerful holy swords existing, each with a different power and being held either in a safe place or by the best exorcists around. And I battled earlier today someone wielding one of them that had just killed a member of the church. Naruto's eyes widened. So I'm trying to find the person I fought earlier. I see. But I think he must have gone back to hiding already, though. Kiba sighed. Naruto's eyes narrowed, turning to Kiba. A seriousness was in them that he never saw before. What can you tell me about the person and the sword he was using? His name is Fried Selzen, Kiba replied. He was in the church when you saved Asia. I think you even hit him to the wall, but he ran away while you were distracted by our arrival. He is a stray exorcist, once considered a genius but kicked out because he was more interested in killing than in anything else. The sword is Excalibur rapidly, which makes the user faster. From what he said, as fast as he needs to be to match who he is fighting. Description: white hair, red eyes, crazy smile, always cursing. Wearing a priest's garb open. Around our size, we are physically fit. Naruto nodded. I'll send some people to look around for him. You go get some rest. Being bait is tiring work. Kiba wanted to protest, but Naruto had a point. So he just nodded and walked back to his current home. Naruto himself sent a few shadow clones to look for this freed guy and went back to the church, where he found a battle going on. Rainier was floating out of reach of a blue-haired girl that was trying to jump and hit her with a big sword, while Middleton and Calawarner were dancing in the sky while a brown-haired girl, so light it was almost orange, awesome, with twin tails tried to hit them with a metal whip. Come down here and fight us like a man, the blue-haired one yelled angrily. Danasik just flipped to the next page in his book. Hey! He yelled, what do you all think you are doing? Rainier froze, her tongue still out of her mouth. I'm reading, Danasik said. Naruto looked at him. I am. And what are you reading? Danasik looks at the title of his book. Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. Is it good? I'm liking it, he shrugged. It makes no distinction between fallen and demons, but also seems to go out of the way to make clear that fallen angels are still angels in a way. It is an interesting point of view. Naruto nodded and turned to the others. And you 5? Middle shrugged. We've just been wasting time until you got here. They attacked us first, but we thought you wouldn't like it much if we killed them just for that. Keep talking, Fallen, said the blue-haired one. If we were not debilitated from hunger, we would already have ended your cursed existences. Naruto looked at the brown-haired one. We heard of the generosity of the current person taking care of the church, and we're hoping for some help spending the night. We have some small money, but we have no idea how long we'll have to stay. Then, when we arrived here, we met them and Zenovia. Naruto nodded. Then the next second he was in front of the Zenovia girl, flicking her forehead. Stop that. Zenovia's eyes widened. How dare you? Are you calmed down now? I'm the opposite of calmed down. Stop that. Are you calmed down now? She took a deep breath before speaking through gritted teeth. Yes, good. Now, these 4 fallen angels are living here for a bit. They have caused no trouble, and as far as I can tell have no plans of causing trouble. You 2 on the other hand. But this is the house of the Lord, Zenovia yelled, which is open for all of his children, led astray or otherwise, Naruto replied. Not exactly sure where the words were coming from. He shrugged. It was the truth. My point is, if you want to stay here you will have to behave and try to get along. Our doors are open to all those willing to do so. But if you are not, I'll just give you some money for a hotel and send you on your way. Zenovia glared at him, clearly wanting to take neither. We will behave, said the brown-haired girl. Irina, he has a point. The doors of the church are supposed to be open for all those in need. If they are willing to behave, we should be able to do the same. Zenovia looked at her, but sighed and put the sword down. That was enough for Naruto. The daily ramen distribution is over, but we may have some leftover pizza. If even that is over, there is always some instant ramen. Naruto arrived with the fresh bread just in time to stop yet another argument. Seriously, that Zenovia girl would be either really good or really annoying playing a tabletop RPG with that obsession with the rules. What is Zenovia complaining about now, Irina? He asked the one exorcist that didn't get on his nerves. Yet, Zenovia-chan found out that Argento-san is also staying here. Naruto-san, the girl replied in Japanese. She claimed that an excommunication is exactly the kind of people the rules of sanctuary don't apply to. Rainer-san claimed that a still pure angel reviewed her case and is going to have her reinstated. But Zenovia-chan will... I see. He moved to Zenovia, and the girl tensed at his approach. I know what you are going to say, she started, but she healed a devil. That is why she was punished by the church to no longer be affiliated with it. Oh, I got the perfect counter for that, Naruto said excitedly, looking through his phone. What followed was a religious combat of quotes. Naruto mentioned Jesus' Good Samaritan, Zenovia countered with Corinthians 10:22. Naruto countered that as it was talking about making rituals praising others instead of God, and mentioned that Jesus did leave demons alone when he met Legion, only freeing the guy from them. Details shall be skipped because they are not interesting. Zenovia was unhappy but not remembering anything she could use as an argument. Not with an actual, not fallen angel said to be backing her stay. Had to hold back and bite on her piece of bread. Naruto used butter on him. He found pure bread a bit dry. He also had a nice glass of milk. As the whole group left for class, only the exorcists remained in the church. Zenovia was angrily flipping through a Bible preparing for her next argument with Naruto, while Irina was Googling the quotes mentioned. On one hand, she could have taught Zenovia to do this. She was sure that's what Naruto did after all. On the other hand, his arguments made sense and she really wanted to be able to still be friends with Issei. So, everything was relatively quiet. For a while. Seriously, where could they be? Hey everyone. Is anyone still here? The two exorcists froze. That voice. They didn't know where it came from because it rumbled from inside them. It felt like the power of their swords, but echoing on their souls. Hey guys, it's Metatron. I heard someone gasp. Did Naruto convince one of you to prank me again? Irina looked at Zenovia, and could only imagine her eyes were as wide as her companions. Metatron, she mouthed. Zenovia's mouth only opened and closed like a fish's. I hear you are. Metatron wasn't what they expected. He was wearing jeans and sneakers, and a t-shirt that just said, "In God We Trust." If not for the white wings and the silver helmet Irina could swear she saw in an album cover, they would think he was just a normal guy. Oh, you guys are already here. The two couldn't help but stare at Metatron, for they doubted any other angel would claim to be him, wearing completely normal clothes, rubbing the back of his neck in embarrassment. I was kinda hoping to meet you guys before you met anyone here. I mean, it's kinda hard to explain about Asia, and the other three, plus Naruto is yet another can of worms. Ano? Irina tried asking but was having considerable trouble. Lord Metatron, Zenovia said, standing up. Are you the angel that we were told vouched for the excommunicated holy maiden, and is trying to overthrow said excommunication? I wouldn't put it in those words. The exorcists approached him, paying close attention to all of his words, which in so long without having experienced it made him feel a bit uncomfortable. He kinda wished he could afford to be like Alan Rickman in Dogma and get drunk, but he didn't have the documentation and didn't look old enough. Well, Alan Rickman couldn't drink either, but he could taste the alcohol. I kinda said that her being kicked out was a mistake, and said that I would do my best to fix it. But Lord Metatron, surely if God wished he would have protected her from this? Metatron shook his head. And how would he do that? By changing the minds of those that did it? No, our Lord is eccentric, but there are some things he values beyond all. Loyalty, purity of soul, ramen, but also free will. It was his gift for humanity after all. Zenovia nodded, then stopped. Wait, what was the one between purity of soul and free will? Oh, she caught that. The Lord is a fan of Pastafarianism, and took ramen as his personal food. But to classify that as, I do not question the ways of the Lord, Zenovia Corda. Understanding them is not for us. Sometimes I wished I did, but I learned through experience that no mortal or angelic mind is capable of doing so properly. I see. I am sorry, Lord Metatron. I did not wish to presume to be able to do so much orange. She took note of the whisper, or as close to one that voice could make, but wisely decided not to comment on it, resisting the urge to glare at the hair color of her companion, who suddenly was sitting a bit straighter. Be that as it may, I am pleasantly surprised that Naruto was able to keep things peaceful for now. Please try your best to get along with him. I am aware he can be difficult, but his heart is in the right place. As you wish, Lord Metatron, the two exorcists replied with a bow. Metatron nodded and went to the kitchen. Zenovia, we just met Metatron, the voice of God. Irina whispered excitedly. Yes, it is amazing, the blue-haired girl replied. And if there was any doubt about Asia Argento and Uzumaki Naruto's actions and beliefs, I guess they have been sated. You don't have to sound so bitter about it, Irina pouted. I am not bitter. Yes, there is still some pizza. No instant ramen for Metatron this breakfast. We have bread. Irina yelled in the direction of the kitchen. And fruits. But bread every day gets boring. No buts. Get a proper breakfast. There was no verbal reply, but the refrigerator was closed with a bit more force than it was needed and heavy steps were approaching the two. Zenovia's eyes narrowed in confusion. Did you just, Mom, Metatron? Irina just shrugged. Hey Rias-chan, wait up a bit. Rias stopped, confused. Usually everyone, not a devil, in the school was a bit distant from her, in a look but don't touch way. To be honest, while she appreciated not being flooded with admirers, it made it a bit lonely to only have friends she made out of school. Even Naruto seemed to avoid her, no matter how much she tried to make him do the exact opposite. And everyone in the school seemed to have noticed but him, which is why it was so surprising to her and everyone watching he was the one calling her this time. Hello, Naruto-kun. It is surprising to have you approach me. Yeah, well, it is about your devil summoning club. Rias sighed. That is a common misconception. Not all of the occult we research involves devils, she said, the practiced line coming a bit monotone. Yeah, I don't care. As long as the perv that joined you doesn't summon a succubus that goes in a killing spree. He shrugged. Everyone else, even Rias, felt a shiver down their spine. That would be something he would do a few weeks ago. Nah, a few friends from my part-time job want to talk to you about something I was talking to Kiba about yesterday. Do you mind if they visit your club after classes? Rias got a bit confused. But, sure, she said. After all, it couldn't be anything bad. So, Kiba-kun met with a stray exorcist wielding a stolen Excalibur? Freed Selzen of all people? And no one told me? Naruto lifted his hands, as if saying it was not his fault. And you? Rias said, turning to him as the exactly opposite of what he wanted. Couldn't you have told me the people who wanted to meet me were exorcists? I said they were friends of my part-time job, which in case you forgot, is helping people in the church who wanted to talk to you about your devil summoning club. I'm sorry that you needed more obvious hints to figure things out. Not like I could have told you before then. I don't have your phone number and no idea where you live. Oh, was all Rias could say, with an embarrassed blush. I'll write it out right away. Don't forget to write Sona-chan's too. Please. Rias' pen broke in her hand. I don't think Sona would appreciate me giving someone her number without permission, though, was Naruto's reply. A serious one, unlike his casual attitude until then. You and her are responsible for this town. That means you two need to be approachable for any supernatural matters. The reason I approach you more is because, as a school club and not an authority figure, it is more acceptable to do so without an official enough reason and thus draws less attention. I am considered one of the most popular women in school besides Akino, who is also here. I wouldn't say it draws less attention. Naruto waved it off. Everyone knows I don't care about that. Rias knew about that, and wasn't sure if that was a good or a bad thing for her. So, those numbers? Oh, and could someone call Sona-chan here? It does involve her too. Rias sighed, but wrote down both numbers, while Akino used a small magic circle to call Sona. And will you give me your own number then, Naruto-kun? Rias asked while giving him hers, in a tone most people would consider flirty. As far as Naruto could tell, this was how she always behaved when not angry at something though, so he decided long ago not to read anything more into it. Poor Rias. With a shrug, he told her the number of the phone Metatron got him, and moved back to where the exorcists were playing cards with Asia, Rainier and Middlet, ignoring Kiba's glare. So, I think that's it that I had to say for now, Naruto shrugged, while sitting down on the same sofa as Calawarner and Donaseek. Your turn. Thank you, Irina said quickly, standing up. Coincidentally or not, she was the one with more cards on her hand. Considering the game was Go Fish. Recently, out of the 6 Excalibur fragments in possession of the churches, 3 of them were stolen. The thieves were brutal and, for some reason, not careful. We were able to figure out that they were fallen angels that worked for Kokubile or exorcists helping them, and that their plan involved bringing the blades to Kuo, which is why we were sent here to recover them. Zenovia entered the conversation. And we are here to ask you devils not to get involved. And I guess we are now obligated to ask the fallen the same too. What? Issei jumped to complain. Is it because you think we may be involved? Rias asked serious. Zenovia nodded. It would be very useful for the devils if one of the most powerful weapons against them was destroyed in the ensuing battle. And since it is visible that, if not allied, the fallen are at least in a cordial relationship with you, well, that's stupid, Naruto said from his position on the couch. Excuse me? Asked Zenovia, clearly offended by his words. As I said, it is stupid. You are in enemy territory without backup, using 2 more of the same kind of artifact as the stolen swords, following information that is sure to be planted. Because if they were to be stolen and guards were killed, they'd have no reason to leave enough hints for you guys to come here. And yet, under such suspicious circumstances, you turn away the very people with more information about the landscape because they may benefit in your failure. Something that cannot be said yet because we have no idea what the swords were brought here for besides bait for you. Only you 2 versus however many there may be. We would gladly give our life for the mission, Irina started. Naruto stopped her. That kind of talk only is acceptable, if at all, when you are able to do the mission if you give your life. Preferably, even then it is best to do both at once. If you'll lose both anyway, then keep your life. In this case, you have about no chance of doing this mission even if you die because of your stupidity and pride. Zenovia turned to him fully, lifting her sword. How dare you? We are being guided by the love of God. He'd never let his loyal followers behind like that. He would if he gave you all the tools to do it properly, and yet you refused to do it, Naruto countered. Free will was a gift from him, remember? He can give you all you need to succeed. But it is your right to be an idiot and leave it all behind and fail. Before the now red-faced Zenovia replied, the door was kicked open by a metallic boot. In it, there was Metatron wearing a silver armor covered by white holy shrouds. Anyone order a distraction? Was all everyone but Naruto could say. Naruto was more focused on what Metatron was holding. Pizza again? It is the perfect group meal besides barbecue. And barbecue is better if made on the spot. Naruto thought about it a bit, and nodded. Does the fact he arrived with those words not bother you? Naruto looked at Issei, who had been the speaker, then around the room where everyone looked at them the same way. So he looked back at Metatron. Good job. Thank you. Well, getting the conversation back on track. I can't do that for the simple reason that I can't change the past, said Naruto, taking a piece of the pizza. Forgetting the argument, just as Metatron planned, Zenovia asked suspiciously, and how would you already be looking for the Excaliburs? We just met yesterday and did not give you the info. Naruto pointed to Kiba over his shoulder. You know how their job is to keep the peace here. Well, the swordsman there, Kiba, met a stray exorcist killing someone from the church with one of them. So I've been investigating to find the guy and whoever may be with him since then. Also, I've been trying to find out why they are called Excaliburs. Because they were forged from pieces of the original Excalibur, Zenovia explained. The original one was broken in 7 pieces. Naruto shook his head, showing that was not what he was asking about. Okay, I have a big question. Bigger than how there are so many Excaliburs, or even any if the original one was given back to the Lady of the Lake before being broken. The exorcists and the devils opened their mouths. That was a part of Arthurian legend, but wasn't King Arthur from Celtic folklore? I mean, many pieces of the story even use things that are not considered in Christianity, like Fae. I can understand his sword being a powerful thing, but isn't holy in this case read as blessed by the Christian God? The exorcists opened their mouths, but no words came out. Metatron shrugged, in plain view of everyone. Everyone's eyes widened, especially Kiba's. Are you saying the Excaliburs are not holy swords? Naruto shook his head. They must be, else someone would have noticed they don't work as they should. But they can't be Excaliburs, not in anything but name. Metatron nodded. Names are powerful. As a devil, you must understand this. Probably why they were named thus. Kiba wasn't calmed down by this, though. But the Holy Sword Project. All the dead children just to wield them. Are you saying we all suffered and died for fakes? Naruto's eyes hardened, and he turned to the 3 people he could ask about this. No words were said. No words were needed. A normal sigh was heard coming from under Metatron's helmet, before his booming voice returned. Correct me if I am wrong. I did not have much time to find this out in my quest to bring you. Your homeland had Danzo, who held authority and believed he was in the right, and Orochimaru, who experimented on children without remorse. Naruto nodded. Orochimaru seemed to have turned a new leaf last he heard of him, and they were willing to give him the benefit of the doubt after he was crucial in saving everyone, but it was undeniable that he and Danzo were monsters before then. Unfortunately, the church got both at once in the form of Valper Galilei. When his actions were found out, he had already escaped and there were no survivors that we could find. He was obsessed with being able to wield a holy sword, especially an Excalibur, so he was trying to make it so someone could wield one without being chosen to do so. He thought it was acceptable to kill his test subjects if his research yielded results. Since he had already escaped, we were only able to excommunicate him. But if I ever get my hands on him, the present were witnesses to something they never thought possible. The feathers of Metatron were darkening in the tips. The angel in question frowned. Great, I'm raging yet again. I will need to purify myself when I'm able to return to heaven. That is so boring. Naruto sighed. Great. Orochimaru was a monster obsessed with his experiments, but he was able to wake up in time to help save the world and seems to be making a recovery, even though he is under watch. And we found out that Danzo was an asshole that would justify everything in his head as for the best even if he ruined everything. Give both of these to the same person. I can't say for sure, I didn't meet them, but it sounds like him, yes. Wait, Kiba interrupted. Did you say the guy that experimented on children did a 180 and helped save the world? More like a 90 for now, Naruto admitted. We are keeping him watched by the survivors of his experiments at their decision, so we'll know if he really is getting better. It's going fine for now, I think. Having seen how hard he is to kill, and how different he can be when not trying to take over bodies for power and immortality or giving people power-ups that have a high chance of killing them, I say that it is better for everyone if he did become a better person. And the survivors of his experiments just accepted it? Naruto shrugged. Somehow, most of them actually worked for his underground operations before he got better, and the others are Yamato, who is watching him like a paranoid hawk, and Enko, who just wants him to be away from her. Oh, and Suigetsu, who, for some reason, decided to learn from him. Alright, Yamato, I'm going to the bathroom. You know, because I can do so much evil there. Outside the window, a bush gave him a shaky thumbs up. Orochimaru just rolled his eyes. Suigetsu, don't try to do anything stupid. Who do you think I am? Suigetsu asked, clearly offended. Orochimaru gives him a glare, but goes. I don't have to try. Anyways, as I said, I've already got many people looking into it. They should have over half of the town covered by now, since they are trying to be discreet. That doesn't make me comfortable in the least, said an entering Sona and her peerage, the fading magic circle beside her ear making clear she had been listening to the conversations. I am surprised you even know what the word, discreet, means. Sona-chan, I am a master prankster, he replied in an offended tone. I wouldn't be worth the title if I didn't know the meaning of discretion and misdirection. Not that you use the first much, grumbled Kurama from the side. Naruto shrugged at that. People who do know me would know something is up the second I try to be discreet about anything. Point. But anyway, chances are low of them finding anything during the day. If they are smart, they'll act at night out of the public eye. Even if leaving a breadcrumbs trail, they need the right people to find it and avoid the wrong ones. And since we only know of one agent of theirs, and one that draws attention, are you saying we need to wait until the night to go look for them? Zenovia asked, impatient. Naruto rolled his eyes. Okay, first, I just said I got people looking for them for us, so you could use this time to prepare yourselves. And are your people trustworthy? I'd put my life in their hands. Already done it many times, actually. Zenovia nodded. And second, he pointed to the window, and everyone had the urge to facepalm, since it was already past sunset. I should be getting the info at any minute. So let's all get ready. A shame that you can be so efficient, though, said Kiba. I was hoping for a spar with the wielders of the famous Excalibur blades. Naruto shrugged. We have some time. And I must admit I haven't sparred with anyone ever since arriving in town. It'd be fun to join. They went to a nearby field, and Naruto felt himself unwatched enough to frown. Kiba's negativity and desire for revenge was big. He seemed to know a bit too much about that Holy Sword project. Maybe he was related to one of the killed, maybe even a survivor. Either way, he was projecting his anger in those two for some reason more than just being from the church, probably because they could use the swords the project was created for. Best to drag this aggressiveness out of him so it doesn't become a liability later. It is a great honor to face someone who Lord Metatron himself treats so highly, bowed his opponent. Thank you, he said with a smile. But he was holding back a frown. The way Zenovia acts, she'd be more likely to aggravate Kiba than calm him down. The fight began, and Naruto decided to test his opponent's defenses. She was okay. Naruto had to admit that he had become kind of a monster through his challenges in life, even if he wasn't using Senjutsu or Kurama's chakra. But the girl would be considered Chunin at best. She was good with a sword but not exceptional. Her sword, according to herself, could change shape at will, but she barely used that skill besides turning it from an armband to a katana. Lacking imagination, lacking improvisation, it was harder to transform than she made it sound, he wasn't sure. But her fighting style didn't seem very suited for that sword's special ability. It had power, though. Every hit he blocked with his kunai, he could feel the energy coating the blade fighting with the chakra he applied to the metal. If not for that, he was sure the kunai would have been destroyed long ago. Besides them, the other two's fight made him mad. Zenobia was a berserker, but that seemed to fit her blade. The problem was her attitude in speaking was as blunt as her attacks. Kiba seemed to have been goaded to follow her, however, either that or he lost himself in anger, because he was fighting the same way instead of the skilled speedster he could see he really was supposed to be. In the end, Kiba lost terribly, and he didn't have much of a mood to keep fighting. "Naruto-san, is something wrong?" Irina asked, confused when he lifted his hand for her to stop. There had been no speculation of the fights being related, after all. "Oh, sorry, I'm just lost in thought," he said. She nodded, looking at the other battle. Good, so she was good enough to pay attention to them while battling him too. "I need to say, you are skilled with a sword, and yours packs a punch. But why are you just using it in one form?" Because, well, how else would I use it? I once fought alongside someone with a sword a lot like yours, just not a holy sword," he said. "It could increase in size and change shape a bit, but much less than yours. The wielder used it by increasing its size and weight after starting the swing, giving it more power with not much more strength used. And yours can change much more since it can become an armband. If you train in it, your fighting could be almost unpredictable. And that could save your life against a skilled opponent." She nodded, and Naruto could see in her glazed eyes her going through possibilities she didn't think of before. He then made a show of going to his phone. To be truthful, he got the message mid-spar, but nothing big seemed to happen since then, so it would make no difference to tell them then or now anyway. Going through the apps, he opened a map one, and looked in it for the place the clones found. "Any news?" Rainier asked, drawing everyone's attention to him. "A location. Someone that looked like Selzen left the place some time ago. No more news coming from him, but if I am right on it being a trap, he just wants to be seen and draw us there anyway." The two groups of devils and the exorcists approached him to see the place, while Metatron called the Fallen for a small talk. "So, what will we do?" Naruto asked. "I mean, it is most likely a trap, but they need a good bait too, so probably something or someone important is in there. Actually, we had a conversation, and we think it is better if you did not go," Donasek finished, rolling his eyes at Metatron's hesitation. "What? I don't get it either," said Middlet, "but the boys say you are too important to risk outside emergencies." Naruto closed his eyes and sighed. They probably had a point. He had no way of knowing how important he was to them, but Metatron said many times that he was very sure he was probably able to deal with the enemies without trouble if he went all out. But it wasn't really needed, and Metatron really wanted his identity to be kept secret. On the other hand, "That's perfect," Kurama interrupted his thoughts. "We have something important to deal with while you guys deal with the overgrown knives." "They did?" "We do. We do," came Kurama's voice inside him, and it seemed worried. "Ah, right, I forgot. You're going to leave us?" Rias asked, eyes wide. "Just like that?" Naruto shrugged. "Metatron is going with you guys. Besides, all of you guys being there. Besides, if you guys really get into trouble, I'll get there quickly." Sona rolled her eyes, dragging Rias away. Naruto, meanwhile, just waved for everyone and followed Kurama, who kept going and going. "Where are we going?" "Back to the church. He is waiting for us there." "Ah, okay." They kept going in silence. "So, gonna tell me who he is?" I had forgotten." Naruto was confused, but kept silent. "When the angels who knew who you are supposed to be started acting like it was a big deal, I snorted. But now I remember how it feels after I felt mine." His eyes widened. "He was reborn?" Kurama shook his head in a negative way. "It is the same deal as when you last met him, which is why it is so troublesome." Naruto nodded in agreement. Last time it was an emergency thing to stop Kagaya. His spirit was supposed to be unburdened now. If he had reason to contact them again, the clone Kurama was inhabiting was dispelled. Naruto opened the doors. "Ah, Uzumaki Naruto. It has not been long since we last met." "Old man sage," Naruto nodded. "I thought you were resting in peace." "I was," the old spirit confirmed. "Then something extraordinary happened." "Extraordinary?" "And troublesome. Me being the reincarnation of this god of the Bible?" Naruto tried. Yes. While it would usually be no trouble, your increased potential puts your chakra and your brother-in-arms in disarray. If it was a matter of weakening or even death of one, the chakra used would be self-sustainable, but it is still linked to your soul, and your divine awakening is causing big changes. Naruto had to take a minute to try to decipher that. And paled. There was only one active jutsu where both his and Sasuke's chakra would be mingled like that. The sphere cracked, kept cracking until a hole opened. White hands with long fingers hurriedly scratched the hole, opening it until it was wide enough a human female could squeeze through it with some trouble. And it was exactly that the human female inside the sphere did. She was free. She had returned. Unfortunately, she was not aware that the sphere was floating in the sky, so Kaguya Otsutsuki could only scream as she fell. I'm assuming the imprint to be at least a week old. She has been weakened quite a bit by the removal of the 9, which explains the fall, but she is still a threat. I'm assuming she must still be in the same power range as you at your best. It is worse than that, old man sage, Naruto pointed out. I had sealed Black Zetsu with her, and he isn't there either. They were using a glass ball for scrying the dimension Kaguya should have been locked at, something that Naruto recalled from when the third Hokage was alive. Do you have any idea where they may have gone to? Asked Kurama, once more in a clone. It was weird to Naruto, his mind seemed to have two modes, lazy asshole and battle genius. It was like a weird mix of Shikamaru, Sasuke at his best, and Kakashi, in his own way. My assumptions were that she was either going to recover her power, which means hunting the 9, or looking for revenge. Fortunately, the rest of the elemental nations seemed to be keeping watch for any new threats. But that makes us an easier target, Naruto finished for him. The spirit nodded. Well, at least she wouldn't be able to hide herself much here, Naruto shrugged. The horns and white hair and eyes would attract a bit of attention. Genjutsu would fix that, or maybe just henge, was what Kurama said. Sure, she didn't seem to have much in the way of techniques when you fought, but she had Black Zetsu with her to teach her. He thought a bit more before finishing. Maybe she won't even need that much, Mr. Japanese with blonde hair and blue eyes. Kurama had a point. Maybe it was because this was Kuo, where people were used to foreigners from the devil side, but from what he knew, Japanese people should have looked at him weird for having blonde hair. There may be another reason for her to be coming for you, the sage admitted. To remind you, despite coming from a different world, my mother had been elevated to a deity by eating the fruit of the god tree. Maybe not at the time, but eventually. She was the first human, or as close to it as we had, to wield chakra. Despite me being the one to spread it, she is the progenitor of all chakra. Naruto nodded. She was also possessive of it. And water is wet. The sage ignored the jab. Now you need to remember that deities get extra power from the people that believe in them. For example, I am considered a legend in the elemental nations, and thus people would praise me while I was remembered. The problem here is that I don't remember much anymore. The upside is that neither is my mother. The downside is that, since they don't remember us much, they just pray for the progenitor of chakra, which those that remember me think is me. But it is her. Which means that, when people were praying to you, they were actually praying to her, Naruto understood. Meaning that the elemental nations were a big battery feeding her even before she tried to take all the chakra for herself. Naruto nodded in understanding. Now, imagine if she was remembered, and someone was declared a hero for defeating her. Usually it would make no difference since it would still be immortal praise for something related to her. But Naruto winced at that. Make him be a deity, at least in part. And as far as she is concerned, I'm stealing her chakra and her followers. The Sage of Six Paths nodded gravely. I'm getting a headache. The sage didn't seem much concerned. As long as you understand the danger you are in right now and are careful. My mother is still powerful, even without the power of my children to fuel her. Naruto nodded. Nodding back, the sage started to fade. Hope you don't think badly of me saying so. But considering the circumstances of our every meeting, I hope we don't meet again for a while. Hehe. I get it. Take care of him, Kurama. Don't have to tell me twice, old man. The clone grinned. And thus the sage left. And thus Naruto turned around and made a shadow clone that promptly dispelled, sharing the info with the others around town. Now he had a warning system if Kaguya ever showed up. Kaguya gazed hatefully at her opponent. Oh, how she wished to just attack with all her strength. Take what was hers by right. But no. Doing so would make the victory lose its meaning. She had to defeat her opponent in her own game. Zetsu, another coin, said coldly the white-haired beauty, adjusting her bonnet, her eyes going between the accursed crane and the plushy bunny she wanted. Behind her, the heavily tattooed man, so heavy most would think half his body was a mass of black from a distance, sighed. Mother! Another coin. Zetsu obeyed, his eye twitching. So, what do I do while I wait for her to show up? Naruto asked Kurama. I'd think it'd be a good idea to tell Rias and Sona about this, since they are responsible for the town. Not a bad idea, said Kurama. You'd need to explain about her, but just that she is a powerful being that you fought and may be coming for revenge may be enough. That should be enough to satisfy the angels about keeping your identity secret yet yourself protected. The blonde released a sigh. I wish they'd tell me why I need so much protection. I mean, sure, I'm the reincarnation of their father or something, but I'm a fighter too. Don't forget, all they got from that is your small meeting with the fallen and some hearsay Enoch heard while visiting. We are not even sure how good his assessment of Kaguya was. It may have been her while locked instead of while she had our power too. Naruto sighed again, but nodded. So what do we do? We have no idea where Kaguya is, promised not to go to where the others are, and have no idea where that lake lady may be. Lady of the Lake. It is a title. I'll keep that in mind. I'm more worried about the others right now. Kurama nodded, then snorted. The two devil groups are led by people considered good enough to be responsible for the town, and they are helped by Metatron, who from what I gathered is supposed to be a big deal. They must have it all under control. It was a hard pill to swallow, but Issei was less than no help. He was an outright hindrance. And it was a pill that not just Issei himself but also Rias had to swallow. She knew he had lots of potential, taking all 8 of her pawn pieces to reincarnate. The problem was, potential untapped was useless. Her plans were at first to let him deal with the fallen angels that killed him by himself, hopefully unlocking said potential. Then Naruto showed up. Her next plan was to train her team, including him, on her last chance to fight Riser for her freedom. Naruto made that not be needed. She admitted that she kind of forgot about him after that. Now Issei was in the middle of battle, only slightly better than when he was a pure human. His apparent sacred gear, twice critical. She doubted it was the final form, since as said it took 8 pawn pieces, only doubling his meager skills, only enough for him to survive a bit more. Meanwhile, they were facing a group of stray exorcists trained to fight both fallen and devils, and that apparently thought Metatron was a trick, since why would he be associating himself with devils? At least having Sona's team and the angels, fallen or otherwise, was giving them the advantage they needed to survive. But she took note of this failing. Next free time the club had they would be training hard. Well, saying the advantage they needed to survive was a bit of a pessimistic view. While Issei was clearly being held back by his lack of training, the others were doing all right. The official exorcists, coupled with Metatron and the fallen, were doing good enough. The devils were mostly avoiding being hit rather than actual fighting. It was clear, comparing what they saw of the fallen before and now, that Naruto did not share her mistake. Which was to be expected, hearing how the 4 played with the young but properly trained exorcists when they first met. Metatron flowed around the room as if floating instead of flying, his powerful hits throwing the enemies around in a way she only saw in martial arts movies. Rainier batted everyone in reach of her light spear, or should she call it a light staff. Calawarner seemed to have been trained personally by Naruto, since her movements reminded her much more of him. Her light knives also reminded her of the weapon she saw on his hands when they first met in that church. Middle used something reminding her of trench knives, using her smaller size to flow through the exorcists. And Donasek, well, he used his weapons still in the form of spears, but his apparent older age showed in his movements, showing that he was experienced with it. She resisted the urge to sweat. While she was confident her peerage, save for Issei, could have defeated the fallen, still it was a much closer fight now. And speaking of her peerage, she was more than aware of the lack of her knight. But she couldn't blame him, could she? After all that suffering, the man responsible for everything was in front of him, teasing them. Even Metatron darkened his wings a bit in rage thinking of his actions, and Kiba was his actual victim. The man ran away as soon as he noticed the stray exorcists wouldn't protect him like he thought. After all, he was only expecting some devils. She couldn't blame Kiba, but seeing him leaving them behind to chase Valper Galilei still hurt. She was so focused on her personal thoughts, she didn't notice a stray exorcist reaching behind her. Bucho, watch out! She rolled away by instinct, just in time to get out of the way as Kiba locked swords with the opponents that were attacking her from behind. Wait, what? Sorry, Bucho. I was so concentrated on revenge. I forgot about you guys. She smiled. So, in the end, Kiba chose them over revenge. Wait, Kiba, what happened to the 2 exorcists? They went after Fried and Valper. I thought that was alright since one of them defeated me and Valper isn't a fighter. Not a bad thought. But, yeah, I got a bad feeling too. When the group reached the exorcists, they were not doing fine. Oh, if it was just Fried and Galilei, it would be 2 against 1 and a smear, but unfortunately that's not how it really was going. Because, Kokabeel, everyone heard escaping Raynair's lips. Oh, what do we have here? Kokabeel, the cadre, wielder of 5 pairs of wings, let go of Shidu Irina, the girl extremely hurt. Zenobia was standing up a bit away, using Excalibur Destruction as a crutch as she lifted herself from the broken tree. 2 peerages of devils, 4 of my fallen brethren, and an excommunicated which come to help 2 members of the church. But the last one ducked. Wah, was all Kokabeel could say as he was kicked in the face by a falling Metatron. Hard enough he broke a tree in half. Oh, by the way, dynamic entry. The body in the tree trembled in rage as he stood up. No, now that it became visible, it was clear that the fallen cadre was trembling in laughter. Hello, Metatron. Long time no see. I see you are stronger than last time we met. Did Michael find a way to restore a bit of your powers? Metatron said nothing. A spear of light appeared in his hand. Kokabeel smirked. Hit a sore spot, did I? He said in a clearly false apologetic tone. It has been 2,000 years. You should stop being in denial. Metatron said nothing. He just disappeared. Kokabeel's eyes widened, and he ducked just in time to avoid a roundhouse kick from behind. What the? I am the terror that flaps in the night. What? Did Metatron just quote Darkwing Duck? Issei asked the person at his side. It was Kaneko, who just stared at him, then shrugged, looking as confused as he felt. Regardless, I must thank you. I was going to attack the school to attack the 2 sisters of Satan's, and what do we have here but you bringing them to me? What? Rias said aloud. Why would you do that? We didn't do anything, and all it would do was... That's his goal, Rias, Sona interrupted. Isn't it? You wish to restart the war. Kokabeel's smile widened. You are smart, just like the rumors say, but that's insane, Rias commented. All that will do is cause more deaths in all 3 factions. Frankly, Rias, I don't think he cares. Please, this will be much easier for us than last time. Your side is weakened by your own civil war. And the Angel's side. Shut up all of you. Oh, are you out of patience, Metatron? Kokabeel mocked. A secret you don't want to get out, perhaps? Not the one you are thinking of, I assure you. Kokabeel's eyes widened in confusion. But, what? I won't deny there is a secret, but not the one you think. And you know I am incapable of lying. But that is not why I stopped your conversation. Oh, you noticed. Notice what? Everyone started analyzing their conversation in confusion. A deep sigh sounded, as if coming from everywhere. A sign came from Metatron. Where are Galilei and the stray exorcist? Eyes widened, but none more than Kiba's. Keep going. I will keep him occupied. Keep me occupied? Kokabeel mocked. You may be better than before, but you are still weakened. At this level, the 4 one-paired fallen with you would make for a bigger nuisance. Kokabeel stopped talking as soon as Metatron disappeared. Expecting this repeat of strategy, he spun around, his light spear ready to try and cut his opponent in half. And thus he was hit with 2 pieces of fallen tree instead of a big one. Behold the log. Kokabeel just looked at the angel in confusion, until he was kicked in the face. You are too late. Fried Selzen was looking ecstatic, which was disturbing for anyone, even if they didn't know him. Valper Galilei lowered his hands, and the ritual circle's light faded, becoming just a circle drawn in the ground once more. In the middle, and now on Fried's hands, was an abomination of a sword, not at all balanced, nothing a proper swordsman would ever use, Kiba thought. The fact it was colored gold only served to hide a bit of the ugliness, but it was still there, clear as day. Okay, he was being a bit too critical. Someone would call it cool if it was in a video game. The main problem was, he could see where one blade ended and another began. As not only a sword wielder but also a sword maker, it felt sickening. What is this abomination? Someone asked. Took him a bit of time to notice that it was his own voice. Oh? You don't like my masterpiece, the fused Excalibur? Valper laughed. I admit I can make it even better. I just need the other pieces of the Excalibur, and I'll be able to bring the true Excalibur back. No, you won't, Kiba replied. Those swords are only Excaliburs by name. The true Excalibur is safe with its original owner. Valper laughed. A disgusting laugh in Kiba's opinion. As if you would have any idea. We heard it from the mouth of Metatron itself. Valper froze. No, he said. No. Then what have I been working so long for? The despair in Valper's voice was sweet to Kiba. But he wasn't there just for revenge, but also for justice. Now you know how we felt when you threw away our lives because your Holy Sword project failed. What are you talking about, stupid child? These are obviously the real deal, and the Holy Sword project was a success. Kiba scoffed. You're in denial. You clearly cannot appreciate genius. My genius would never be fooled by a fake Excalibur. The Holy Sword project was made so people like me who can't wield holy swords could do so. So I could do so, and I did it. Look at that. He pointed at Freed, who wielded the so-called fused Excalibur with a mix of reverence and insanity. There is an essential factor needed to wield a holy sword. Most of my test subjects had the factor, but not enough to wield an Excalibur. So the answer was obvious. Take from the ones who had it but were unworthy and give to those worthy of the blades. He held in front of himself a shiny orb. And yet what was my reward for completing the research? Just because the stupid kids were not able to survive the extraction. And yet, what do we have now? Wielders made using my research. I bet the only difference is the survival of the test subjects. Bah, I say. He threw the orb at Kiba's feet. The boy got a hold of it, almost reverent. Just the thought that in that sphere was a part of the spirit of his old friends. The friends that died while he survived. And this is its culmination. What Freed holds is 4/7 of the ultimate holy sword. And as soon as it is complete, he shall still be able to wield the completed, true Excalibur. But Kiba was not listening. For from the orb in his hand, the spirits of his old friends appeared. Metatron's eyes shifted from his opponent slightly. That light, it wasn't holy. It was pure. It was as if the souls of dozens of children laughed in happiness. It held darkness within, but also acceptance. Not like something holy was supposed to be. Holy was the antithesis to darkness. This light, it reminded him of when Naruto was covered with that golden energy shroud. There was light and darkness. But the darkness didn't fight the light, for the light accepted it, and the darkness accepted it back. He looked at Kokobile. Kokobile looked at him. The two turned to see the source. I see, came the voice of Valper Galilei. Holy and demonic. It will be an explanation. If the beings that represent the two become unbalanced. Metatron froze. Oh dear. Kokobile did not. Cursing himself, Metatron followed the thrown spear of light, hoping that he could reach his allies before they were hit. Then not only the Satans but God has also. He shouldn't have bothered. It wasn't his side of the battle the spear was aimed at. But even so, he couldn't help but feel surprised at Kokobile's actions. Valper, you were remarkable, Kokobile said to the dying man. The reason you reached this conclusion proves that, from your actions before, I think you would approve of word getting out. Everyone was stunned. Metatron's words served as confirmation. Hysterical laughter began. It was Rainier. I remember now. That's why I fell. That's why all three of us fell. We couldn't accept it, so we looked for a way to fill the emptiness. The ways of our kind were not enough to fill the emptiness. What? Irina gasped in Asia's arms. Asia's eyes were filled with tears and incredulity herself. No, it can't be. Yes, in the battle between the three sides, not only the four Satans but also God died. Lies. It's a lie. No, Zenovia. Metatron was merciless. God did die. Everyone froze at that. They recalled something. Metatron himself claimed he was incapable of lying. And they doubted he would lie about this. Yes, little exorcist. The God you believe in is dead. Even your mighty Metatron said so. Now, I didn't say that. Everyone froze again. What? Kokobile said, surprised. But you just said. I said God died. Not that God is dead. Everyone on the battlefield blinked at that. Did that mean what they thought it meant? Impossible, Kokobile said. You are saying God came back from the dead. Zenovia blinked. You know, that wouldn't be the first time. There is the whole Easter thing already. That was Jesus, Kokobile pointed out. Divine Trinity, Zenovia countered. Kokobile opened his mouth, then closed it, then opened it again. Explain how it works. Zenovia had no answer. Kokobile didn't either though. So he went through another tactic. And if God is back, why the mask? Pardon? The mask. The whole reason for you wearing it was because God is dead. Because without God who share the face and voice of God, ended up with no face and voice of your own, right? I just got used to it. It also looks cool. Really? You got used to the mask? I think that you just got used to being able to lie. I am not lying. Then prove it. Prove that you are not lying. Prove that God has returned. That your face is more than just a void and your voice is more than a projection. Oh, really mature Enoch. Metatron lifted his helmet, and his real face was currently showing his tongue to Kokobel. With all the maturity of a millennia's-old angel. Seeing the face, everyone froze. Rainier began laughing hysterically. Irina gasped. Asia's eyes filled with incredulity. Zenobia kept repeating, no. Eyes wide. You guys suck, Metatron said, in the face and voice of Uzumaki Naruto. He then wore the helmet again. So, God is back, Kokobel mused. This changes nothing. I mean, if you were hiding it, that means he is still weak. That means I can defeat him easily. Metatron smiled at that. After all, where would he be if not right under your watch? Not safe. Excuse me? Kokobel said, confused. Metatron revised what he said, and answered again. Not safe. Everyone finally understood what was happening. Metatron, in a last effort, pointed to the grass in the ground. The grass is a light green, gray in the lower parts, because it hasn't been raining lately and no one is bothering to water it. Wait, so if he tries to tell a lie, he tells the truth even if he thought it was true or did not know the truth beforehand? Asked Issei. Damn it. Quick, if Pinocchio says that his nose will grow right, then what happens? Unlike God, who gave me this ability, Pinocchio isn't omniscient. His nose only grows when he is being dishonest. So if he expected his nose to grow, he would be disappointed. And if he did not, he'd be surprised. Didn't expect an actual answer. No one does. Not even me sometimes. Thankfully, I'm not forced to tell the truth, just to not tell lies. I could tell you some things about frogs and toads. As he got no news about Kaguya, Naruto decided to trust his instincts and follow the weird feeling about the Excalibur. Something told him it would be important, and it had nothing to do with whatever Metatron thought it was. So he followed the feeling until a forest on the other side of the town than where the others were going. And a small lake in the middle. And by small, it seemed to be barely over his waist in the deep. But the water was pretty clean, he could see inside it perfectly. It seemed perfect, unnaturally perfect. He stepped towards the lake and spun, evading something that almost hit him in the back of the head. He looked surprised. There was no killing intent, not even fighting intent. He just felt a quick blast of chakra and heard something cutting through the air. He turned around. It was Kaguya, wearing a brown bonnet, pink blouse, and tan trousers. Oh, and holding a stuffed bunny. And she seemed more annoyed than murderous. There, I shot him, and he got away. Can we go now? Naruto blinked at that. And again. No, said a man at her side, clearly being controlled by Black Zetsu. You need to kill him, else he will get on our way again. Kaguya grumbled something Naruto couldn't hear, but that sounded suspiciously like, as long as you shut up. Then she disappeared in a white blur. Naruto blocked his abdomen by instinct, but was still thrown hard enough he disappeared over the lake and broke a couple of trees. This was really Kaguya? Sure, she wasn't going as fast as last time, or as strong as last time, or throwing deadly bone lances as easily as last time, but she was much more skilled than last time too. As he approached the water, he raised his arms, backflipping and skipping over the water, trying to stop himself in a proper position to stop himself. Sure, he reached a breakthrough in Sage mode during the fight with Madara and could now be in it for much longer and gather energy much faster, thanks to almost dying and meeting Old Man Sage, but he still needed to connect with nature and mold Sage chakra at least for a start. As he felt himself fill with nature energy though, he had to resist the urge to gasp. It was a bit hard to admit, but Sage Gold Byakugan eyes were as beautiful as they were scary. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. And if you want to keep the journey going, check out one of these videos right here. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you don't have anything to say, feel free to drop a blue heart emoji to show your support. It really helps the channel. Until next time, stay awesome and I'll see you in the next video.